before the winter comes on. We'll see you back in the morning at 5 o'clock.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 9 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Tim Hughes with a look at some of our top stories. Time to start checking your mail because ballots are being sent out across the state today. Utah County Clerk Aaron Davidson says when you get your ballot depends on where you live.
Most people get them Wednesday. Some people maybe Thursday or Friday, depending on how far out you live or how, the outer regions of Utah County or whatever county you're in.
Ballots must be postmarked the day before the election, November 4th, or taken to drop boxes before the end of Election Day. The second congressional debate took place last night between Republican Celeste Malloy and Democrat Nathaniel Woodward. Malloy says she is unapologetically pro-life. Woodward says he believes it's up to the woman.
There are obviously other concerns when it comes to a fetus. At what point is that fetus considered a human life?
On the topic of disagreeing better, Malloy says there's a difference in going along to get along and being civil about our disagreements.
If everybody goes along all the time, then bad ideas are going to get through.
Woodward says civility has eroded over time. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Early totals suggest around 5 million people in 44 states have already casted their vote in early voting 3 weeks before the election. We are looking at the markets continuing their downward trend this hour. We're off about 138 points on the Dow. The S&P is down 22, which is 0.4%, and the Nasdaq is off 155 points this hour. Coming up, 2 more days, and they may be record days as far as temperatures go, but then things are going to change. We'll take a closer look at that forecast next. KSL News Time, 9:02.
You know what's great about KSL's traffic coverage? Trained traffic reporters and real listeners.
Trading information and making the commute safer and faster for everyone.
Every 10 minutes on the 9s, we have you covered on KSL News Radio.
Get up to a 30% upfront bonus to use for your retirement income or up to 12% per year to help grow your retirement income. Whether you're in retirement or will be retiring within 10 years, Trajan Wealth can offer some of the highest guarantees in the business. I'm Jeff Jr. with Trajan Wealth, and I know no one wants to work forever. We all need to retire someday, and I know you've worked hard for your money, so now is the time to guarantee it. Take advantage of up to a 30% upfront bonus for your retirement income or up to 12% per year for retirement income. Don't woulda, shoulda, coulda. Get up to a 30% bonus just for opening an account or up to 12% per year for retirement income. Don't leave your retirement to chance. Retire the right way, the Trajan way with Trajan Wealth. Call Trajan today at 801-899-7600. That's 801-899-7600.
Annuity guarantees are based on the claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company. DBA in most states says Trajan Wealth Insurance Solutions.
Do you know how to tell if a clogged drain is something to worry about or not? What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and I understand it's annoying and inconvenient, but sometimes a clogged drain can be a sign there's a more serious issue with your sewer main line. If the drains in the lowest level of your home aren't draining, or you flush a toilet and it comes up somewhere else like a shower or a floor drain, I'm urging you to look at this as more than just an annoyance. The last thing I want you to experience is a sewer backup. If you're a homeowner experiencing any of these issues, the first step would be to snake the line to see if it's just a blockage, which one of our drain techs can do for only $29. Yep, you heard that right. Any Hour Services will snake any drain line with normal access for only $29. Sinks, showers, tubs, toilets, floor drains, laundry drains, even that sewer main line that connects to the city. We'll snake any line for just $29. For help with your drain issues, call Any Hour Services at 801-443-7700. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Want to avoid getting sick this fall? Getting your immunizations is a classic approach. You can protect yourself against the flu, RSV, pneumonia, and COVID. Does that sound like music to your ears? Then talk to a doctor or healthcare provider. And visit uptodate.utah.gov to learn more.
Time again for a look at traffic and weather together. Brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Michelle Rowe is in the traffic center.
Yeah, Tim, we're looking at some slowdown still. Northbound I-15 coming up from Lehigh over the point of the mountain to about Bangerter Highway. More delays, Sandy into Murray. And then we have a crash southbound I-15 at 2100 North in Centerville off to the right. Two Brothers Mattress is your locally owned Serta dealer. Right now, get a Serta for under $50 a month with 0% financing OAC. Learn more at twobrothersmattress.com. I'm Michelle Rowe in the KSL Traffic Center.
Going to be another warm day today, high in the 80s, sunny skies. We'll have a repeat performance tomorrow, but by Friday, we'll go from 82 to 51 degrees for a high, and you've heard us talking this morning already about the chance of a hard freeze. So time to get those tomatoes off the vine. Right now in Salt Lake City, it's sunny and 59. From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, I'm Tim Hughes. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com, Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
That's right. You heard Tim Hughes say it. Expect a 31-degree drop here in the coming days. My goodness. Go from T-shirt, tank top weather to a coat. Yeah, the weather is changing. Eventually, it's been the hottest October in history. My goodness, we are ready for fall, and fall is coming. And if you're wondering, Dave, where's Debbie? Debbie's not here? No co-host. I'm running solo today, so we're just going to open up the phone lines. If you have anything to say, if you want to comment on any of these topics, make sure you call in. I'd love to hear from you. So it's 9:07, and typically this is the time where the launch happens. It's still going to happen.
Sequence engaged.
And it's not the three things that Debbie wants you to know. It's the three things that I and I alone want you to know.
Countdown. 3.
Let's start with young adults in Utah. They are moving away from traditional college degrees. They're moving to the trades, getting started in the trade work at a younger and younger age. The Utah Manufacturing Association is going to join us live to talk about the new trend in the trades at 10:35.
Countdown. 2.
Let's talk about insurance. It has jumped 22% in the last 4 years. Home insurance, that's specifically what we're talking about. So home insurance, 22% increase. Now, some of that is due to inflation, but much of that has to do with the weather disasters, the fires, the hurricanes, you name it. And as hurricanes rock Florida year after year, homeowners can see these high insurance policies canceled. We've even had some of the same issues here in Utah with high home prices, and obviously the insurance rates are going up with it. But how about those high-risk fire areas? We're still seeing some of those cancellations, or there are even insurance companies that have said, you know what? We're not going to work in Utah anymore. Bankrate will join us live at 10:20 with some analysis. Will your insurance company be there for you when you need it? And can you imagine not being able to afford or not even being able to obtain home insurance?
Launch countdown. 1.
All right, today is the day. Ballots are headed out. With just 21 days to the election, that's 3 weeks from today. It's election day. 3 weeks from today, we've got you covered. In the 2020 election, there were 8,000 ballot failures, according to the Salt Lake Tribune. We're going to talk about what you need to do to make sure that your vote is counted. What is the biggest problem of those 8,000 ballots? What was happening that caused them to be rejected or not counted? We want to make sure that you're filling out everything, and we mostly do, but we want to make sure you avoid some of the pitfalls and that your voice is heard. We'll talk to the Weber County Clerk at 10 o'clock. And we check in with KSL at Night host Adam Gardner on some of the top local races. This is the down ballot races. This isn't the presidential race. We focus so much on the big races. We're going to take you down ballot on some of the closest races here in Utah.
Dave and Dujanovic.
The Launch.
Commence.
Your voice, your vote. Elections 101 on KSL News Radio.
Well, let's start the show with the state's election director, Ryan Cowley, who joins me. I keep saying us. I'm so used to having a co-host, Ryan. So you're my co-host for the next 4 minutes. I appreciate it. I appreciate you joining us. But today is the day, right? We're going to start seeing ballots shipped out. They may even arrive today.
Yeah, ballots could arrive in your mailbox as early as today, and if not today, over the next couple of days for sure.
So what happens if you haven't registered? Maybe you've moved. Is it still available? Can you measure, or can you still get a ballot, or if you still have to register, does this guarantee that you have to go in person?
No, you still have time to register. Anybody who registers up through Friday the 25th can still receive a ballot in the mail, and that includes people who need to update their address. So if you're not sure or you don't get that ballot today or over the next couple of days, go to vote.utah.gov and just verify your registration and make sure it's up to date and ready to go.
So I was looking through some of our sample ballots, and that's something you can do. You can go to your local clerk's website. They usually have a sample ballot that you can look at. And one of the things that stood out to me as I was looking at the presidential ballot is there were a lot of candidates, more candidates than I had realized. And there didn't seem to be any special order or particular order that these were put in. And I think that surprised me. How do you know, is there a standard of how we place the names on the ballot, in which order?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And so in Utah, we use a randomized alphabet. And so just after the filing period, we actually met in the rotunda of the Capitol, and we used Scrabble tiles. We recorded it. It's on our website. You can watch it. We just had people pull out Scrabble tiles out of a bag and put it in kind of a random order, and that becomes the random order for the candidates this year. That's what was used in the primary election, the general election, and that will continue on next year through the municipal ballots that come out next year.
Hold on. I had absolutely no idea. Wait, you're going to have to break this down. Is it always using the Scrabble tiles randomly pulling out, or have you used other things?
In the past, they've used spreadsheets, things like that. We started using the Scrabble tiles out of a bag just to be a little bit more transparent so that there's no, in a spreadsheet, it's hard for people to see. So we just did the Scrabble tiles because you can pull out each letter individually. And the main point is the legislature just wants that to be a random process. And so those are drawn out in public. And then it makes it so that any particular candidate doesn't have an advantage because of their party and their party being listed first, or, the regular alphabet. You could always give an advantage to people, with letters, the names that start with letters at the beginning of the alphabet. And so this way it just kind of equalizes the playing field and just makes it truly random for the people on the ballot.
Well, it makes a ton of sense now that you explain it, but it seemed super strange when I was first looking at it. I thought, this is very strange, the way do you go off the first name or the last name?
We go off the last name.
Okay. Well, I learned something. You know what? This is what we're looking for. A little nugget of information. The Scrabble tile thing, that was fantastic. Okay, if I want to track my ballot, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, so the best way to track your ballot is to go to trackmyballot.utah.gov, and there'll be a sign up there that you can do. You can either look it up on the website or you can sign up, and we'll send you text and email notifications of when that ballot's being mailed. Once you send it back in, when it's received by the clerk, if they've challenged your signature or you forgot to sign it, something like that, it'll notify you of that. And then once it's been ready to be counted, it will also send that notification to you. So it'll come right to your phone through text or email.
Now, we've been voting by mail for a long time here in Utah. We've worked out a lot of the kinks, I think. But for anyone that is still unsure about voting by mail, what message do you have for them?
Yeah, I think the biggest messages we have are take the time to research the candidates. All of the candidates have the opportunity to submit a bio. You can view those at vote.utah.gov, which you talked about on the intro. The other thing that I think is important is just to return that ballot early. If you're going to put it in the mail, it does have to be postmarked. no later than November 4th. That doesn't mean you have to wait until November 4th. And in fact, we encourage people, if they're mailing it, to mail it in early. There's drop boxes located in every municipality in Utah, as well as the Native American reservation. So there's opportunities to go take that in person if you want to drop it off at a drop box. You can also take it into a polling place during early voting or on election day. And then the other thing that we really want people to do is most of the time when ballots are rejected, it's because there's something that the voter could have done differently. So mailing it early is one of those, taking it to a drop box. Also just making sure that you sign that affidavit and sign it legibly. Sometimes we're in a hurry to sign things. Just sign it with your normal signature, but make sure that that's signed and take the time to verify that it's signed before you close that ballot envelope up. That definitely will make it so that your ballot counts.
Ryan Kelly, thank you so much for joining us, the state elections director. When we come, now I want to play Scrabble. Now I'm obsessed with Scrabble. Who wants to play Scrabble with me in the breaks? All right, coming up, this election, the presidential race obviously is the main focus. It's where the vast majority of the money is being spent. But what about the local elections, the down ballot? Salt Lake County is going to have a 2-page ballot, front and back. So let's take you down ballot with Adam Gardner, KSL political insider and a KSL at Night host, on some of these down ballot races that he's keeping an eye on. Next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
A lot of us are filling our workdays with podcasts.
When you're working, go to KSLNewsRadio.com.
Click on Dave and Debbie's podcast and pick a topic and story length.
Podcast with Dave and Debbie. Then get to work with KSL News Radio.
Rescue, redemption, recovery, re-entry. That's what happens at the rescue mission of Salt Lake City.
My name's India.
My name is Kelly.
So I was a heroin addict.
I was living in my car.
And I decided it was time that I got help.
You don't know what to expect.
The rescue mission of Salt Lake does not accept any federal, state, or city funding. Everything is wholly supported through your generous tax-deductible contributions, along with donations of our friends and supporters.
You have a bed. You have a shower. We get everything that we need.
87% of every dollar goes to the rescue mission services. The other 13%, hard costs to run the mission building itself.
Like I have that hope now.
Thank goodness.
From the recovery program to a place to lay your head at night, and meals served every morning, afternoon, and evening all year long, as well as food boxes for families in need. The rescue mission needs our help.
Like a new life, that newfound hope.
That's what I'm grateful for.
Find out how at rescuesaltlake.org.
How far can this Cougar team go?
Retzloff takes the snap, gives LJ into the end zone!
Is the table set for a college playoff berth?
I love the energy and the effort. These guys have it and they believe in what they're doing, and man, it's working.
First, we need to protect Lavelle's house Friday night. It's BYU, Oklahoma State. Here's special extended pregame coverage driving home Friday at 5:30 on Utah's legacy home of the Cougars, KSL News Radio.
I'm Utah Tax Attorney Jordan Wilcox. Listen to what actual clients have had to say about working with us.
Hi, I'm Gary. I'm a building contractor. About a year prior to the market crashing, we had a big job that was unable to pay a bill of about 6 figures. We were still left with a very difficult situation with the IRS. Eventually, at the end of the day, I realized that the penalties and interest were growing faster than my ability to save to deal with it. I had talked to people and I felt that Jordan Wilcox represented best what I thought could help me, primarily because they were local, and I needed a bigger solution than I was coming up with. It takes too long to figure it out on your own.
Hi, I'm Jordan Wilcox. You need a tax attorney that's not afraid to fight for you. Visit taxhelput.com to schedule your free consultation.
I would recommend Jordan Wilcox. It feels very good to not have the IRS on your back.
That's taxhelput.com.
This is the story of a very special woman. Just a few knew about her superpowers. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
I don't feel so good.
You do feel hot. Dayquil Kids will take care of that fever.
What about my cough?
Dayquil Kids has that covered.
Will it make my throat feel better?
Yes, that too.
But will it taste good?
Yep, Dayquil Kids comes in your favorite flavor.
Purple?
Well, yes, it's grape.
Try new Dayquil Kids Plus Fever, the daytime coughing, aching, sore throat fever just for kids medicine. Safe for kids 6+. Use as directed.
Common Spirit Health. Hospitals, clinics, and caregivers all connected to advance healthcare in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Healthcare with human kindness is here. Hello, human kindness.
Hi, friends. Dan the Laptop Man here from PC Laptops. In celebration of over 32 years of serving humans in Utah with their computer and tech needs, we've slashed our prices. And these are the new 2025 models. Here's the deal. You can get our new 2025 S1 desktop with a blazing Ryzen 5 processor, 16 gigs of RAM, and over a terabyte of blazing fast storage on this promotion. We also have our new 2025 SM3 laptop with the Intel i5 processor, 16 gigs, and over a terabyte of storage for $999. You can take one home today for $999. And you also get the peace of mind of our lifetime service warranty. We also have 12 months special financing available, and they start as low as $29 a month. But hurry in because supplies are limited. Because at PC Laptops, we love you. PCLaptops.com. Take home a blazing fast 2025 model desktop or laptop for $999 at PCLaptops.com.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Tim Hughes. First, the Murray School Board is proposing a new bond to rebuild a junior high and enhancing security at high school. These projects could cost an extra $11 a month in taxes. Second, Utah's ballots hit the mail today and should be in your mailbox in the next day or two. And third, warming centers for people experiencing homelessness are getting ready to open in Utah County, but those centers say they still need supplies and volunteers. We're going to look for a high today of 82 degrees, and right now in Salt Lake City, it's 59. Let's get you back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic. Your voice, your vote. Elections 101 on KSL News Radio.
Rolling solo today. That's right, Dave Noriega and only Dave Noriega today. And hopefully that's the last time I refer to myself in the third person. But thanks for joining us on the Dave and Dujanovic Show. We're talking about elections. Just 21 days, 3 weeks from today is Election Day. That's when all the campaigning stops. All your social media feed is not filled up with candidates' faces. Things will be changing up a little bit. And we were just speaking with the state election director, Ryan Cowley. And if you're wondering, when you receive your ballot, if you think the order is strange, that Trump and Harris is not at the top of the ballot for the presidential candidates, you might be wondering, well, why do we have candidates that I've never heard of? Why aren't they at the top? It's because they've been randomly selected. And I wanted to find out, how did you randomly select the order of the candidates? And he described it like this.
So in Utah, we use a randomized alphabet. And so just after the filing period, we actually met in the rotunda of the Capitol, and we used Scrabble tiles. We recorded it. It's on our website. You can watch it. We just had people pull out Scrabble tiles out of a bag and put it in kind of a random order, and that becomes the random order for the candidates this year.
And that's what happens. You're going to see a random order on your ballot, which is being shipped out today. Now, some ballots are extremely large. In Salt Lake County, we talked to Lanny Chapman, the county clerk, 179 candidates, 88 contests, bond measures, constitutional amendments, retaining judges. It's a 2-page ballot, front and back. But so much of the focus is on the presidential election, or the big, the congressional races. But I wanted to talk to Adam Gardner, who's the co-host of KSL at Night, founding partner at ASG Consulting. He's a lobbyist, host, again, here at KSL. But I wanted to go down ballot. And what are some of the smaller races that he's paying attention to?
You know, we're lucky this year. We have a lot of really competitive down ballot races. And just to get into it on the legislative level, the House of Representatives has newcomer Mike Byrd versus Murray Councilwoman Rosalba Dominguez. That's an open seat. Mark Wheatley held that seat for, I think, like 10 years, maybe more. And both are very well funded, very well organized. Mike Byrd, I've seen him out knocking every single night with scores of people. Both of them fighting very hard for all of the endorsements from the different groups, from labor, from conservative groups, from the whole spectrum. And that's going to be a really fun race to watch. If I had to guess, that one actually might go from Democratic hands into Republican hands. I think Mike Byrd has a slight edge in that seat. Another one
That's
is
the open seat, right?
Correct.
Can you walk us through that a little bit?
Yeah, Mark Wheatley held that seat for a number of years, and his spouse was his campaign manager. She knows the area very well. Was able to run a good campaign. Mark Wheatley never really ran any legislation. He didn't have any enemies. He was really funny and very nice to everybody, a really good guy. He decided to step down from the legislature, and that opened it up to a very competitive Republican versus Democrat seat.
Okay, so who's next on the list that you're keeping your eye on?
Down in the Magna and West Valley area, Anthony Loubet, who won a squeaker of a race a couple of years ago, is fighting for re-election, and he's been like one of the impressive young guns. He's a young attorney and served in like Utah County government, and now he's in Salt Lake County. And I'll be honest, he's really smart, and he's earned his spot in the legislature, runs great bills on criminal justice reform and other things. And that's going to be a hard-fought race. It always is. It leans a little bit more Democratic, but Republicans have been able to hold on to that seat. The only one in the legislature outside of Salt Lake County is in Weber County. Incumbent Democrat Rosemary Lesser is having a rematch against Jill Coford. And a couple of years ago, 2 years ago, this race was decided by only a couple of hundred votes. So turnout's really going to matter. And when you're just voting at the top of the ticket for president, maybe for governor, don't just throw your ballot back in the mail. Make sure you vote the entire down ballot races. They're really important and only decided by a couple of votes. Rosemary Lesser, I believe she's a physician. I think she's an OB-GYN. She delivered half the babies in her district, and they all still know her and remember her. And so she has a leg up in that race. It's the only seat outside of Salt Lake County in the legislature held by a Democrat, and Jill Coford plans to give her a run for her money. Another tight race held by a Democrat incumbent is Kathleen Reeby in like the Mill Creek, Cottonwood Heights area versus EDCU CEO Scott Cuthbertson. That's going to be a tough race. Both candidates are really well funded. Kathleen Reeby has been able to work on both sides of the aisle, but she ran very far to the left when she ran against Celeste Malloy 2 years ago for Congress. We're going to see if that matters to her constituents or if she's able to hold on or if Scott's able to take her out. In Salt Lake County, these are two of my favorite races. Incumbent Mayor Jenny Wilson, who's served in Salt Lake County government for, I think, 18 years now, both on the county council and as mayor. She also ran for the United States Senate, losing pretty badly. That was foreseen, to Mitt Romney. And so we're going to see a challenger, Aaron Ryder, Republican, who's giving her a run for her money and is working very hard and is using the Smith Entertainment Group plans in Salt Lake City to actually use those plans against her. And I think it may gain some traction with residents in Salt Lake City who are upset about a tax hike. And to finish off, Rochelle Morris versus Natalie Pinckney for the open seat in at-large Salt Lake County Council seat C. That's a mouthful. It's the first time this seat has ever been open in its history. For the last 20 years, this seat has been held by Jim Bradley, a Democrat, and a beloved Democrat in Salt Lake County. And so he decided to retire. He was a county commissioner in the 90s as well, so a big legacy in Salt Lake County. Now that he's decided to hang it up, we have a very, very competitive race with Rochelle and Natalie, and that's going to be interesting to watch.
Adam, how do these open seats work?
Well, I mean, open seat is just simply when someone decides to hang it up. So with Jim Bradley, he'd been in there for a long time, and once he was done, Republicans and Democrats both saw an opportunity to either take or keep the seat. And so both parties had very hard-fought primaries, And so Rochelle and Natalie are already down the stretch very seasoned campaigners. And so it's going to be fun to watch them go, because neither of the candidates have real baggage. You know what I mean? If you've been in office for 15 or 20 years, you've taken some very unpopular votes, you've taken some popular votes, but there's no record to run on here. And so that's what makes this race really interesting. It's a promise from both candidates on what they're going to do to benefit Salt Lake County residents.
So they truly have to introduce themselves from the ground up, which really speaks to the ground game, that grassroots effort to get your name out there, because you don't have the benefit of being the incumbent or being able to challenge directly somebody's record if you're coming in from the side.
You hit the nail right on the head. And I'll just say to listeners right now, as a former candidate myself, the hardest part is actually conveying who you are and what you believe to voters. And you can't do that unless you have a well-funded campaign. So if you do your research on a candidate and you like that candidate, don't just say, I like them and I'm going to vote for them. Donate to them. If you like a candidate, donate to their campaign.
Adam Gardner, thank you so much for joining us. When we come back, let's talk about killing some mosquitoes and how much it's going to cost you. Is there anything more worth it than spending money on killing mosquitoes?
9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Tim Hughes with a look at some of our top stories. Today, Salt Lake City residents will have their chance to weigh in on possible property tax increase designed to provide more resources to, as Dave just said, fight mosquitoes. KSL News Radio's Hugo Rickard Bell has more.
In order to keep the mosquitoes away, the Salt Lake City Mosquito Abatement District wants to increase property taxes by 20% to pay for new infrastructure and supplies. They want to raise the annual residential property tax total for Salt Lake City by $9.95, which, according to a City Council staff report, is to keep pace with current inflation rates. The increase would generate an extra $1.3 million per year and would be brought into effect in 2025. Tonight at 7 p.m, a public hearing will be held at the City Council meeting. Hugh Rickard Bell, KSL News Radio.
Campgrounds in Capitol Reef will now be taking reservations year-round. The new system will be available to use starting today for the Capitol Reef Fruita Campground. Before, reservations were only available during the on-season. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. FEMA is back on the ground in the hard-hit portions of western North Carolina. Governor Roy Cooper is ordering law enforcement to travel with FEMA agents after one arrest was made. The arrest was made after false claims. Your money at this moment. Let's look how the markets are doing. We're still in the red this morning, but not by a lot. The Dow is off 103. The S&P is down 17, and the NASDAQ losing 128 points right now. Coming up, a couple of warm days left. Could be record breakers, and then we'll start looking more like fall and even a little bit of winter in the higher country. KSL News Time, 9:33.
We hope you have the right app on your phone for news. You probably have dozens.
But the KSL News Radio app, well, it makes our live stream super easy.
Plus, our talk shows are right there as podcast for your workday.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
There's a lot on the line this election. Your vote is your way to make your voice heard. Based on polling from AARP, Americans 50 and over decide elections. That means you have the power to make the candidates listen and take action on what matters to you. Things like protecting the Social Security you've worked hard for and making sure family caregivers get the support they need. But you have to cast your vote to have your say. That's why AARP Utah has created an election guide with the most up-to-date information about when, where, and how to vote. You can find out about all the key voting deadlines, changes to polling places, and how to cast your ballot. Make sure the candidates hear from you. Get trusted, up-to-date election information at aarp.org/UT-votes. That's aarp.org/UT-votes. Paid for by AARP.
My name is Brian King, and I'm running to be your governor because Utah is headed in the wrong direction, and we can do so much better. If you're frustrated by politics today, if you feel like politicians aren't listening to you, if you're looking for something different, for a leader who prioritizes common sense and bipartisanship, you have a place with us in this campaign. Join us and vote for Brian King for governor by November 5th. For the better.
Paid for by Brian for Utah.
AMCO presents Bet You Didn't Know.
Bet you didn't know that your car's transmission is made up of 800 pieces. Also, bet you didn't know that AMCO's fixed over 40 million transmissions and that AMCO offers a nationwide warranty.
Check out AMCO's multiple financing options so you can fix it fast and pay it off slow.
That's AMCO, AA, MCO.
For over 133 years, Central Bank has been a cornerstone of Utah County, providing generations of families and businesses with trusted community banking services and are more than just a bank. Central Bank is part of Utah's legacy. With 12 convenient locations across Utah County, Central Bank combines the strength of traditional customer service with the convenience of modern technology. Customized one-to-one service means you're never just another account number, and your phone call actually rings to a real person.
Hi there, thanks for calling Central Bank.
Voted best bank and best mortgage in Utah Valley, Central Bank is here to help you with all your financial needs. From top SBA lending services for small businesses and quick turnaround times on construction loans. They're dedicated to helping you build your future. Whether you're cheering for the Cougars or building your dream home, trust the bank that's been here since the beginning. Central Bank, strong, local, secure, since 1891. Online at cbutah.com or any of 12 Utah County locations. Central Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents a gallon. Let's get back over to Michelle Rowe.
Still dipping below freeway speeds northbound I-15 from Midvale into Murray, I should say, and then also Bangerter Highway for drivers making their way eastbound on as you're approaching Redwood Road. That's slow due to construction. Use Superior Water and Air for all of your HVAC and plumbing needs. Call 974-9090 or visit superiorwaterandair.com. Superior Water and Air. Michelle Rowe in the KSL Traffic Center.
Warm again today. Highs about 82. Sunny skies will prevail again tomorrow. Right now, we have some of those sunny skies. It's 63 degrees from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. I'm Tim Hughes, reminding you to listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
I know I'm not alone when it comes to complaining about property taxes. In less than 10 years, my property taxes more than doubled. So whenever we talk about property tax increase, my stomach starts turning into knots, and I want to lash out and fight against any kind of increase. That's my gut reaction. But this one right here, I could not say yes to fast enough, which is we're throwing more money at the mosquito abatement folks. Yeah, and you may not realize this. You may not realize that many cities, maybe it's even all cities, have some sort of mosquito abatement. They're out there to kill some mosquitoes for you, and you don't even realize what they're doing. And Salt Lake City Council is meeting tonight at 7 o'clock. They're going to be talking about the need to raise some property taxes, in part because inflation, in part to help fund other projects. And one of those projects is to send money specifically to the mosquito abatement project to get a helicopter. A helicopter is going to help control the mosquitoes, and it's going to cost you, get ready for this, $10. Now, it's not $10 a month. That is $10 per year. Again, 83 cents a month to kill mosquitoes. I cannot think of a better investment in my life than $10 going to any mosquito attack dog anywhere. So this is very interesting. But at the same time, we're talking about millions of dollars. There are $1.3 million per year would be generated. And is there really a need for a helicopter? So we thought we'd reach out to the Salt Lake City Mosquito Abatement District. We're speaking with the executive director there, Dr. Ari Faraji. Dr. Faraji, thank you so much for joining us. Maybe you can help our listeners understand what's the need or why a helicopter?
Sure. Good morning. And let me just reiterate what you said about the property tax increase. That value that you provided is based on a average home value in Salt Lake City, which, believe it or not, is about $624,000.
Wow.
So our actual tax increase, to put it in something that's more palatable for the general public, it's basically $1.59 per $100,000 value of your home. So if you have a $500,000 home, you can multiply that $1.59 by 5. So on average, it comes out to about 13 cents a month per $100,000 value.
So yeah, that not a significant increase on any level. So when you're talking about this kind of investment, what are you hoping to see?
Sure. So many folks are not aware that, as you mentioned, many districts, many cities, many counties actually have a mosquito abatement district. And our certified tax rate is actually pretty low as compared to other services that are provided by, say, the county or the city or other special service districts. But the vast majority of those funds go towards conducting surveillance and then, more importantly, control for mosquitoes. So that way the residents that are actually living within city jurisdiction will hopefully never get to feel the burden of mosquitoes and the mosquito-borne pathogens that they transmit. So the vast majority of our work is actually conducted on the far west side of the city. These are primarily throughout those wetland habitats that are surrounding the airport and now the new state prison. And the way that we conduct our surveillance and control is by placing a variety of different traps to monitor the abundance, the species composition, and also the infection rate within the mosquitoes that we collect. And as a response to those numbers, we go out into the field and we intervene with control measures. And the vast majority of our control measures are conducted in these wetland habitats, to these confined aquatic habitats where we can use products that are very target specific for mosquitoes and mosquitoes only. And one of the main reasons and methods that we utilize in controlling those mosquitoes is by the use of fixed wing aircraft, an airplane essentially. But the airplane basically goes out into the field and it has to conduct these applications, obviously above ground, moving at about 150 miles an hour over these habitats. And the pilot has to physically open a hopper in order to get those granules within that aquatic habitat. And believe it or not, mosquitoes are not found uniformly throughout a body of water. The vast majority of them are on the edges where the water tends to be a little shallower. So moving at a very high speed makes it very difficult to specify the exact locations of where we want these granules to be dispersed in order to have maximum efficiency and efficacy. So switching over to a helicopter actually allows us to hover above this ground and conduct those applications directly above the habitat with an increased efficiency and efficacy.
So it's so much more because obviously traveling, you could travel as slow as you want with the helicopter, and if there's a particularly intense patch, you can spend time addressing very specific and targeted areas, it sounds.
That is correct. And another factor is that most of our inspectors are in the field either on foot or on ATVs, and they go out to these habitats and they physically inspect the aquatic habitats for the presence of mosquito larvae, and then more importantly, the physiological life stage that the mosquitoes are found within that habitat. They map that area, they bring it back to our facility, and our GIS specialists further develops another map, which then he sends up to our aerial contractor, which is based out of Ogden, and their GIS specialist creates yet another map, which then goes to the pilot, and then the pilot finally gets in the actual airplane to go out to conduct these applications over these habitats that he has not physically seen himself. So there's a lot of different points of transfer involved in that process. So we're trying to eliminate that by having an inspector fly with an actual pilot in a helicopter, so that way they can actually sample right there and then and make an application right there and then, again, for increased efficiency and efficacy.
Dr. Faraji, in the final, we just have about 30 seconds left, but I wonder, is there any way to describe what the mosquito, situation would be if we did not take these kind of measures with the mosquito abatement?
Sure. So I'll give you an example of one of our trap counts from this summer. And first of all, if we're doing our job right, residents in the city should never feel the burden of these mosquitoes. But we have 40 of these carbon dioxide beta traps throughout our jurisdiction, and one of them collected upwards of 40,000 mosquitoes in a single night just this year. So imagine 40 of these multiplied by those numbers, and that's what the burden of the mosquitoes are out in these wetland habitats.
Yeah, that is a staggering number. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Ari Faraji, who's the executive director of the Salt Lake City Mosquito Abatement District. Tonight, there's going to be a Salt Lake City Council meeting at 7 o'clock. They're going to be discussing this property tax increase, and some of that money is going to be going directly to the Mosquito Abatement District. It's going to cost about $10 per year, about 83 cents per month on the average home, and that will go to combating and fighting mosquitoes. When we come back, Tesla debuted its new Optimus robots and the Cybercab last week. So let's talk to ABC Tech reporter Mike Dubusky next with a look inside of Tesla's new world of robots and why Elon Musk is being accused of stealing or even copying designs from a movie.
Dave and Dujanovic.
You know KSL is the only news radio for your car, right?
The only news radio for your smart speaker.
Come here in the morning. It's the latest news and traffic. In the afternoon, news and updated weather.
We have you covered at KSL News Radio.
One of the things I love as we're talking about water, water all over the place, is my soft water that is in my home. Now, the water that comes into your house naturally here in Utah, it's hard water. So if you do want the benefits of soft water, you have to make sure that you have a water softener. And I had Connecticut of Utah come to my house and install it. Now, many people would say, well, Dave, you just love your Connecticut water softener because you got a free one and you have to say you love it. No, I paid for it. I paid full price for it because they want me to experience it. And then if I'm going to talk about it, that I can give you my honest assessment. And I will tell you, I could tell from the first time I took a shower, they told me this was going to be the case. You could feel the difference on your skin. I could see the difference on my dishes, in the laundry. Soft water makes some very tangible differences that you can feel. But also it protects some of the water in the plumbing that you don't see. It breathes life into some of your expensive appliances. I had a dishwasher break because I had hard water buildup, corrosion that burst a line, flooded my kitchen, went down into the basement. It was a mess. So at that point, we were like, Connecticut, come out, give us the best that you have. And it has been wonderful. We loved our soft water from Connecticut. Give them a call if you're interested. 801-576-8600. That's 801-576-8600. Or check them out online at softwaterutah.com.
Don't be worried. Be ready.
KSL News Radio has partnered with Be Ready Utah to provide the plans your family needs for an emergency, the tools and supplies to keep on hand, and the knowledge on how to keep a cool head.
It's Be Ready Utah. Listen to our show, Dave and Dujanovic, for Be Ready tips and tools.
Or you can always find the latest preparation info at BeReadyUtah.gov.
Be Ready Utah with KSL News Radio.
Everywhere you look, things are getting more expensive. So at Consumer Cellular, we're lowering the price for those 50 and up. Now you can get unlimited talk, text, and data for $30 a line when you buy two. That's just $60 a month for 2 unlimited lines. So if you're 50 and up, make the switch and save. Come on, you've earned this. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com today. Requires 2 lines of service, age validation, and credit approval, subject to system and area limits, taxes, and other fees apply.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm. Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare cancellation guide absolutely free.
Call 800-838-6161. That's 800-838-6161. 800-838-6161.
We all want a stressless holiday season. With Soda Weight Loss, you will stress much less. With state-of-the-art weight loss, you won't have to stress about fitting into that holiday outfit. You won't stress about how you look in your family photo. You'll stress less about emotional eating. My Soda dietitian and coach took the stress out of losing weight for me, and they will for you too. I lost 37 pounds in 90 days and have kept it off stress-free for nearly 3 years. Stress less about potentially dangerous fat loss drugs. Stress less about pills and injections. Stress less about crazy, sometimes dangerous side effects. You want less stress for the holidays? Then start the stressless way to get rid of the pounds and inches currently causing your stress. Soda is the stress-free, natural way to healthy living. When it comes to your Soda weight loss journey, there's no time to lose, only time to win. So stress less and start winning by losing that unwanted weight. Have a stressless holiday season with the energy and vitality you deserve. Check it out at Soda Weight Loss, SOTAweightloss.com.
Exciting news! Master Electrical Services has joined Mountain Home Services.
This is Jeff Stout with Fink and McGregor Mortgages Made Simple. There are lots of mortgage lenders out there, so why choose Fink and McGregor? Here are some good reasons. We are a broker. That means we can shop loan terms on your behalf, including loan programs, rates, and closing costs. We make it easy. We can take your application within a few short minutes, either on the phone or in person, on our fast application website, 4minutemortgage.com. We can help sift through options to find the best solution for you. This can include loan programs, credit fixes, or loan strategies. We are fast, really fast. Most loans close within a couple weeks. Start to finish, we are here for you. Apply today at 4minutemortgage.com. Fink and McGregor, Mortgages Made Simple, 801-264-9494. That's 264-9494. Or on the web at finkmcgregor.com, NMLS 289115.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Tim Hughes. First, cold temperatures later this week will mean the end to most of our gardens. Second, warming centers for people experiencing homelessness are getting ready to open in Utah County, but the centers say they still need supplies and volunteers. And third, a Sandy man has been sentenced for up to 20 years in prison after he was found guilty of causing the death of a motorcyclist while driving under the influence. We're going to shoot for a high today of 82, and right now sunny and 63 in Salt Lake City. Now back to David Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
David Dujanovic.
All right, we are straight up living in some crazy times when it comes to technology. I don't know if you've seen this. The robots that are being unveiled. I mean, remember the Jetsons from, the 60s? The Jetsons was supposed to be so futuristic, and so we are past the Jetsons, I think. We are like one step beyond the Jetsons with our cool robot technology. It's pretty incredible. In fact, at Tesla, it just debuted its new Optimus robots and a cyber cab last week. And we're going to have Mike Dubusky from ABC News join us soon. He's their ABC News technology reporter about some of the exciting possibilities and what the future looks like when it comes to robots. So Tesla holds this event, and they unveil the new Optimus robot. Here's Elon Musk explaining it.
Progress with the Optimus. So, and what can it do? It'll basically do anything you want. So it can be a teacher, babysit your kids. It can walk your dog, mow your lawn, get the groceries, just be your friend, serve drinks, whatever you can think of.
The bartender robot. Hey, I'm going to need a dirty Diet Coke. I need caffeine-free Diet Coke with a little coconut, some lime, and literally this robot is going to be able to put it together. Now, this is the initial stages, and it was pretty impressive to see these robots walk out and interact. It looked incredible. Apparently, there were people kind of behind the scenes running the robot, kind of joystick style, so this wasn't totally an autonomous robot that was being used. But the design, it stirred up a little bit of controversy. If I were to describe the robot, let me take you back a few years to a movie called iRobot.
Can a robot write a symphony? Can a robot turn a canvas into a beautiful masterpiece? Can you?
You know the old Will Smith, that was Will Smith you were listening to, the old Will Smith show iRobot? Well, that is very much what this new Tesla Elon Musk robot looks like. They call it Optimus robot, and it is a humanoid figure. It has like very human traits, head, shoulders, they're kind of in proportion. It's black and white, obviously has the Tesla, straight across the chest. But now the iRobot folks, they're like, that looks exactly like my movie. And in fact, the designer, what's his name? Proyas. I'm trying to find his first name. Anyway, he writes, "Hey Elon, can I have my designs back, please?" And Musk did not respond. But yeah, the robot looks incredible. Somebody, again, we were first being introduced to this because we were expecting the cyber cab. So this autonomous cab that would be driven, and the robot, though we had heard some rumors about it, this was supposed to be about essentially this autonomous taxi, the cyber cab. And anyway, at this event, someone was able to ride in the cyber cab. Her name's Sandy Monroe, and this is what she had to say after experiencing the cyber cab.
No steering wheel,
no steering wheel, no pedals, no nothing. You are this is like being chauffeured, but in the front seat instead of the rear seat.
Yeah, it's a very strange experience where you get in and it is like sitting more on a gondola. That's probably how I would explain it more than anything. It's like sitting on a gondola where you just kind of sit down and it takes you where you need to go. Now, this has been unveiled, and oftentimes, as you will see with some of the Elon Musk prototypes and the initial, you'll remember this with the Cybertruck. It was like, hey, here's the unveiling. Look how cool it looks. Look how amazing it is. And everyone gets excited and they want to buy one today. And then it is still years out. So these are prototypes, and we don't know exactly when these things will become a reality. And if you're wondering, okay, you're talking about the robots, you're talking about the cyber cabs, the Optimus robots, a little heavy-handed, right?
My name is Optimus Prime. We are autonomous robotic organisms from the planet Cybertron, but you can call us Autobots for short.
First of all, outside of Darth Vader, is there a better voice in the history of the world than Optimus Prime? No, you can't. I mean, listen to that.
My name is Optimus Prime. We are autonomous robotic.
So you start telling me and tapping into 49-year-old Dave Noriega, who remembers when Transformers first came out, who's always loved robots, and now you are handing me the possibility of owning a robot that can do what? Elon describes what this robot will be able to do.
We've made a lot of progress with the Optimus. So, and what can it do? It'll basically do anything you want. So it can be a teacher, babysit your kids. It can walk your dog, mow your lawn, get the groceries, just be your friend, serve drinks, whatever you can think of.
And yeah, sign me up for all of that. But unfortunately, we weren't able to get Mike Dubusky on the line, but he so often joins us as the ABC News and technology reporter. We appreciate when Mike does join us. But anyway, we're able to make connection with him. When we come back, your ballot, let's go back to the elections. Your ballot is on its way to you starting today. Many of these county clerks had things just lined up, ready to ship off 21 days before the election. That's exactly where we are, 21 days before the election. I want to talk to Weber County Clerk Ricky Hatch next to make sure that you dot all the I's and cross all the T's because there were about 8,000 ballots that weren't counted 4 years ago. What were the biggest problems with the ballots so you can avoid these failures? We'll talk with the county clerk, Ricky Hatch, next.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bonas. KSL's top story this hour. Well, it looks like ballots will be out in the mail very quickly for the next couple of days. They could arrive as soon as tomorrow and possibly as late as Friday, but those ballots do have to be returned by the deadline the Friday prior to the election. A police chase that started as a domestic violence call in Nevada ended 40 miles away in a fiery crash into Willa County. KSL TV's Andrew Adams reports the police used a pit maneuver to stop the car, which then hit a barrier and caught fire.
The DPS helicopter captured the moment, with UHP troopers moving in, guns drawn.
All right, be advised, doors open. Driver door open.
When a woman finally emerges with hands up.
Females out on the ground, lane 1.
With the fire only growing, the video shows troopers dragging the driver away on the ground.
That's the ambulance coming now.
Putting an end to a potentially hazardous situation for all involved.
And the incident ended without anyone being seriously injured. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. FEMA is back on the ground in the hard-hit portions of western North Carolina after agency workers were threatened there. One person's been arrested. Governor Roy Cooper ordering law enforcement to travel with the FEMA agents now. Governor Cooper says spreading misinformation about the federal response is just irresponsible. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average down on the day right now, 167 points. The NASDAQ is down 175. And our KSL weather looks like we're going to be close to warm temperature records again today and tomorrow. That's next. KSL News time, 10:02.
It's a priority for us at this station to bring you all sides of a story and to talk about the news fairly, completely.
Get all the facts and be really aware. Utah's Morning News with us, Tim and Amanda.
Weekday mornings 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
Hi, this is Doug Wright. I've got to tell you about my experience at Hale Center Theater, one of the opening nights for The Magician's Elephant. Now, I knew it was going to be a U.S. premiere. I knew this was going to be something brand new, but I wasn't quite prepared for just how charming this play indeed is. It's all about a young orphan boy who promised his dying mother that he would keep an eye on and watch out for his little sister, but where is she? Only the magician's elephant knows. You're going to love The Magician's Elephant. And I'll tell you, I'm used to spectacular things unfolding on the stage, but there is the exit of a major character that is simply magical, almost molecular. One of the most amazing things I've ever seen on a Hale Center Theater stage, and boy, that is saying something. Don't forget, we also have the Addams Family still to come, Beauty and the Beast. Get your tickets now for A Christmas Carol. Go to hct.org.
Jazz games are better together. Host an unforgettable night at Delta Center with colleagues, friends, families, whoever. Group tickets are the best way to get everyone together to cheer on the Jazz. Pick from a variety of options for seating, dining, and game day experiences. Start planning your big night at the game by calling 801-355-DUNK, emailing group sales at utahjazz.com, or simply visiting utahjazz.com.
Trail mix, beef jerky, mixing all the soda flavors at the gas station soda machine. Snacks are better on the road. The gas is better when it's top tier. And the pit stop is better when there's a dinosaur there. Love the filler moments at a Sinclair gas station near you with DinoCare, our top tier gasoline. Some sweet and salty snacks for the commute and a big green dino for the memories. Find a gas station near you at sinclairoil.com. Sinclair, fill up your life.
Boyd Matheson. Listening to Inside Sources is a little different from just reading the headlines because we're always going to get you into that think again moment. We have experts from around the country, across the world, and right here local to home that'll help us dive in and get past just the hype, the fluff, the fake fights, and the false choice so we can get into the news to help you connect the dots and make the news make sense.
Join Inside Sources with Boyd Matheson, 1 to 3 on KSL News Radio.
Thinking about our traffic and weather picture right now, brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. And here's Michelle Rowe.
Looking at a fresh crash. This is westbound on the South Belt to go.
Michelle?
Hello?
It'll be warm today and tomorrow with highs near records for the date. Then we get a big cool down on Thursday with highs dropping into the 60s and rain likely right now. We're at 64 degrees and sunny. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio. Your voice, your vote, Elections 101 on KSL News Radio.
21 days, 3 weeks from today. That's right. When all the madness ends, 3 weeks from today, Election Day. Well, kind of. So often that's how we've measured it. Oh, okay, so it's November 5th. That's going to be the election. It's the first Tuesday in November. We know. Except with mail-in balloting, it's changed everything. Like every day for the next 21 days is Election Day. We spoke with the state election director, Ryan Cowley, earlier this morning, and there was an interesting little tidbit we learned because as you open up your ballots, you may expect, say, because it's a presidential election, you'll see Donald Trump and Kamala Harris at the top of the ticket. That's where you would expect to see the first two names in the presidential ballot. But I've seen some sample ballots out there, and that is not where it lands. And Ryan Cowley described why they are not in the order that you'd maybe expect, the two front runners. He said this is how they determine it. It's not alphabetical. They wanted to do it randomized. So they busted out the Scrabble tiles.
So in Utah, we use a randomized alphabet. And so just after the filing period, we actually met in the rotunda of the Capitol, and we used Scrabble tiles. We recorded it. It's on our website. You can watch it. We just had people pull out Scrabble tiles out of a bag and put it in kind of a random order, and that becomes the random order for the candidates this year.
Question asked and answered. Did not expect Scrabble tiles to be the answer. I guess I missed that. Again, it's available online. You can watch it happen, but I guess I just missed that story. Ricky Hatch joins us right now, Weber County Clerk. And Ricky, yeah, I didn't realize Scrabble tiles were used. That's how you order, you randomize the names on the ballot.
Yeah, who would have thought? But it's a good move because before then we actually had candidates who would change their last name legally to get in a better order on the ballot. It's crazy.
Really? See, I didn't realize it was that much. I guess it makes sense. You know, you want to be at the top. You know, it's see if everyone gets down. You know, 3 or 4 names on the ballot. But yeah, okay, problem solved. There you go. It's completely and totally random. Now, there was a story. I was curious. As the Weber County Clerk, one of the things that stood out to me was an article from 4 years ago. We wanted to go back 4 years ago because that was the last presidential election. And the Salt Lake Tribune did a nice job. Andy Larson was the reporter there of how many, the reasons for mail-in ballot failures. And there was only about 8,000. Now, some people might think 8,000 is a big number. I would imagine when you're talking millions of votes, that 8,000 is pretty small. But some of the reasons why they were were not counted, part of there were 2,200 because signatures didn't match the voting record. It was returned unsigned, no ID verification, invalid signature. There were several reasons. And then there were some kind of obscure ones, like there were 8 that were deceased. 1 was sent in from a past election. What are some of the things that you'd like to help people understand, what to watch for to make sure that your ballot is counted?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked. Really, kind of the biggest thing is to verify that you're registered at the right address and that your registration's current. And you can do that by going to vote.utah.gov. Just check, you just enter a couple of details, and it'll pull it right up, and it'll give you all of the races that are on your ballot. So that's really the biggest thing. The second thing is to make sure you sign that envelope before you return it. Those are the 2 biggest things: people who have moved and didn't let us know, or people who forgot to sign their ballot envelope, or who accidentally signed their spouse's envelope, and vice versa. All of those trigger events in our office, and we can identify them, and then we reach out to the voters to get them fixed. But really, make sure your voter registration is current, and then just take good care of your ballot and be, follow the instructions that are written, and you should be good to go.
The envelope is important because this isn't a situation where you want to save stamps and put all of your ballots in one single envelope. That's super problematic. Can you walk people through why they have to use that ballot with that envelope?
Yeah, it is crucial, and the reason why is because the outside of the envelope, that's how we verify that you're a legitimate voter, that this is a legitimate envelope for the right election, and that the voter hasn't already voted. Once we open that envelope up, once we've verified all that, then we open up the envelope and pull out the ballot. As soon as we pull out that ballot, it is completely anonymized. So we're very careful to make sure that every ballot or every envelope is, before it's opened, that it's completely verified and that we know that that's a legitimate vote. And then once we do that, the ballot is completely anonymized. So if you put 2 ballots in to save postage or something like that, that creates a problem because we need to know exactly who sent that ballot. And if there were 2 inside, we're not going to know who said. There's one that we will be able to count, but not both.
Not that you need to concern yourself about postage, right? Because isn't it free? Can't I just send that?
You can. And we've got drop boxes all over the place. No postage required there. For the post office, and of course some counties prepay the return postage. Some counties don't. But even if you don't have a stamp, you drop it in the postal drop box. They'll return it, and they just charge the county.
So one of the biggest reasons why ballots were rejected last presidential cycle returned undeliverable. That was about 4,600 ballots. What is that? Is that going to you couldn't find the right address for the person? Is that the problem?
Usually, the biggest reason is the fact that we have to send the voter list to our printers about 60 days before Election Day, and about 1% of the population moves every month. So, and that lines up pretty close because the undeliverable rate is usually under 2%. So usually it's people who have moved since that deadline or since we sent the information to the printers. But in some cases, it's people who've moved. They didn't notify the driver's license division. They didn't notify us. And so we had no way to tell unless we got it through the national change of address list. And that usually equates to a little bit under 2% of the total ballots that we mail out will come back undeliverable. And with those, if they're the Postal Service won't forward election mail or won't forward ballots, and so all we can do is hold on to that. If we have a good forwarding address, then we can update that and try to notify the voters so that they can get a ballot. But we're limited in the things that we can proactively do to before we can mail out another ballot.
Sorry, Ricky, did you say that the post office won't forward a ballot?
Correct. Yep.
Oh, okay. So that has to be done beforehand. And then where does that go if instead of forwarding it, does it just return to you guys?
Yeah, it comes back to us with a little yellow sticky note on the outside of the envelope, and we immediately start spoiling those ballots in the system to help protect the security of the system. And so we have bunches. I'm sure we'll get a whole bunch of ballots back from the post office with undeliverable, and we get right to work immediately to spoil those ballots within the system.
Ricky Hatch, thank you so much for joining us, Weber County Clerk. The keys that you want to pay attention to, make sure you have the right address on file. If you've moved, make sure vote.utah.gov, make sure you can that you have the right address, make sure that you are registered, and then make sure you sign that envelope. And as we've talked to county clerks and election officials, don't just scribble it out there. Make sure it's your actual signature, because that's how they verify it's you, is they look at your signature, they compare it to what is on file, and that is the best chance you have to make sure there's no problems with your ballot. And we appreciate you taking the time, Ricky Hatch, the Weber County Clerk. When we come back, since 2020, we've seen a 22% increase in home insurance rates. Inflation, weather disasters, Bankrate is going to join us next with the analysis.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Dave and Debbie go out of their way to make sure you hear all sides of a story.
They're working the phones to get several viewpoints on for you.
Hi, it's Tim and Amanda. We get you the full story, too.
We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
When I started Salt Lake City Fat Loss back in February, it was because I wanted to see big results. And they told me, we have the secret to losing up to a pound of fat a day. Now, many clients will lose 20 to 30 pounds in a month or two. I lost 25 pounds in the first 3 weeks. I lost 57 pounds overall in just a 2-month period. Now, the way it works, you don't have to cut out the delicious foods in your life for the rest of your life. That is unsustainable, and Salt Lake City Fat Loss understands that. But what they do is for 2 weeks or 2 months, you are really focused on losing as much as possible, and then you can start adding back in some of the other foods in your life. One of the things that I loved is it made me realize where some of the food sensitivities I had, because I had restricted a lot of the foods that in the habits that I had. When I started introducing foods back, I'm like, oh, this food particularly doesn't make me feel great. And that was one of the great clarifiers on the Salt Lake City Fat Loss program. So if you're interested, I found great results when I did it, and I've been so happy with it. Make sure you reach out to Salt Lake City Fat Loss by going to slcfatloss.com.
It's gonna be 80 forever. Fall is finally here. Listen this week as we track our first bout of chilly weather. Get a reliable KSL forecast every 10 minutes on the 9s, mornings and afternoons on KSL News Radio.
Gear up for your hunting season with the Shields Hunting Sale event, running now through October 20th. Take advantage of great savings, like $300 off Vortex Fury HD 5000 rangefinder binoculars, $200 off Leupold VX5 HD scopes, 40% off First Light Cypher clothing. Get a $150 gift card with purchase of Seekins Havoc PH2, and discover so many more in-store and online. Save on your favorite brands, now through October 20th at Shields and Shields.com.
Beatty, Nevada, your getaway to Death Valley, an entryway to a true desert adventure. Enjoy exciting offerings for all your senses and imagination. In Beatty, visit Eddie World, the largest candy store in Nevada, and visit their historic museum, the ghost town of Rhyolite, and see sculptures in the desert at Goldwell. Hiking, biking, and hundreds of miles of ATV trails await you for the ultimate adventure. Make Beatty, Nevada your next destination and claim a free gift at beattynevada.org.
Members, it's here. Milo's Rewards Week deals for members only are up for grabs. Home decor, holiday tools, you name it, it's for less. Get up to 40% off store-wide on hundreds of items, including select power tools, tool storage, and ladders. So what are you waiting for? Join for free today and get instant access to Milo's Rewards Week deals. Lowe's knows home improvement. Offer valid 10/10 through 10/16. Program subject to terms and conditions. See Lowe's.com/terms for details. Subject to change.
Tired of hearing scary radio ads about the IRS? Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000 or $500,000, we have a solution. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS with zero risk to you. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with a BBB. End your tax nightmare today by visiting TRA.com or call 800-583-6681. That's 800-583-6681.
Any Hour Services free furnace sale is going on right now. If you haven't scheduled your free estimate yet, what are you waiting for? Call Any Hour Services today or schedule online at anyhourservices.com.
I finally decided a few months ago that enough was enough with the high electrical bills in the summer and the high heating bills in the winter, and it was time to replace our builder-grade windows of our 20-year-old home with the latest and greatest windows from Advanced Window Products. Ever since Jake and Nate showed me a demonstration of what a difference the right kind of window can have on my home's energy use, I couldn't get it off my mind. So my wife and I decided it was time. And man, am I glad we did. From the moment Ken showed up to give us a free in-home estimate, we've had such an outstanding experience through the entire process. Within an hour, we had financing set up, and then about 8 weeks later, the crew showed up and did what we thought was going to be a 2-day installation in a single day. Now our home is more comfortable. Our electrical bills have started to drop. We qualified for Energy Tracks credits to help pay for the windows, and we even took advantage of their expertise and replaced our sliding glass deck door with one that has a pet door built in. Look, I know you don't make a decision like this on a whim. You do your research. So do that. But make sure you call Advanced Window Products at 801-850-9100, and you can get a special deal of $3,000 off 10 windows or more if you mention Andy when you make the appointment. 801-850-9100 or go to advancedwindows.com.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, a chase that began in Nevada ended 40 miles away in Utah after a crash and a fire. Turns out nobody was hurt. Second, FEMA workers are back on the job in North Carolina after a man was arrested for making threats. And third, early voting already underway in some states. As many as 5 million Americans have already voted. 64 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic. Dave and Dujanovic.
Let's talk about insurance. Insurance on your home specifically. Homeowner insurance has increased 22% since 2020. Now, some of that is inflation, some of it is weather disasters, but you have probably felt it. We were talking with the Utah Insurance Department Commissioner, John Pike, not long ago, and we're talking about how this is impacting Utah. 3 insurance companies have dropped coverage, specifically here in Utah, because of increased wildfire risk. Thousands of new homes have been built in these high-risk wildfire areas, and quite frankly, insurance companies are just saying we're out of Utah. We're out of certain areas of Utah, and we're not going to invest in some of these higher-risk homes. So let's go to Florida. As hurricanes, 2 back-to-back hurricanes hit Florida in just a 2-week period. We've just seen massive destruction. Homes that have just been completely destroyed and flooded. Obviously, now we're starting to clean up and starting the rebuild process. Bankrate is going to join us right now, Shannon Martin. And Shannon, how are people dealing with this? Again, we're in the very early stages of rebuilding and starting to make insurance claims. What are some of the problems that you're seeing in Florida?
Hi, thanks for having me. You are right. We're still kind of in the beginning of the claim process for Florida residents. One of the things that homeowners need to be aware of there is that the process of filing a claim and how your insurance carrier is handling the claim has changed if you haven't filed a claim in the past 3 years. Florida legislature has passed a lot of laws pertaining to how you interact with your adjusters, using public adjusters, what your contractor can and can't do. So right now it's really important for homeowners to speak directly to their insurance company and make sure they understand what the claim process will look like for them now.
Obviously, with so many millions of Floridians impacted, are they able to actually reach, or is that just a busy phone line nonstop because there are so many claims?
There are a lot of claims, but the good news is that there's a lot of ways to file your claim. So depending on your comfort level and who you have as a carrier, you can submit your claim through the mobile app. You can do it over the phone. Some companies like State Farm take massive trucks and units down to the state and set up shop so people can just walk up to them and file a claim and talk to someone directly. So there's lots of ways to file the claim. I think what a lot of homeowners are worried about is that if you had a citizen's policy and you've been depopulated or moved over to one of these new insurance companies, there's some concern about whether these insurance companies are going to be there once all these claims are paid. And if they're not, what are homeowners going to do after that?
How much concern is there that this could, back-to-back hurricanes in just a 2-week period, could it bankrupt these insurance companies? Do they have protections? And if they do go bankrupt or they go out of business because there are so many claims, what's the recourse for folks that thought they were covered?
Well, that is what everyone is kind of worried about, is what happens if a new insurance company moves in and they've gone bankrupt and you put money into your policy, but you're not getting a payout. So the good news is that Hurricane Milton caused a little less damage than what was anticipated. So as of right now, the state and citizens are saying that they have enough reserve to pay out these claims. But we're not done with hurricane season yet. There's still going to be more things at play, and there could be a worse hurricane season next year. So when you look at the property market, you really need to look at the longevity and the sustainability over time. If something happens where a carrier folds up and they go insolvent and they can't pay claims, Florida does have a plan in place that can come through and make claims on the behalf of that carrier to the homeowner, but that takes a long time. There's a cap on how much those claims payouts can be. So it's not the best situation, but we do need to see kind of how things play out and what the future of extreme weather looks like in the state.
Have we seen an increase? Because obviously hurricanes in Florida happen every single year. This is not something new, where insurance companies are no longer willing to insure, especially some of these coastal areas.
Oh, absolutely. And that's kind of part of the problem. So Florida has had massive exodus of insurance companies. Now, over the past year, 9 new carriers have decided to agree to write insurance in the state. And then reinsurance companies, that's the insurance company for insurance companies, have decided to back these carriers. So that's all good news. But what might happen is because of these disasters, if the cost of reinsurance increases dramatically next year, that means the cost to homeowners for basic home insurance increases again.
Sometimes when we see the destruction that is happening across the country in Florida, as much compassion as we may have, we may not realize some of the crossover and how it may impact us, because these nationwide insurance companies, oftentimes to make sure they are still profitable, it seems like they may have to distribute some of these payouts by raising our own prices, maybe even here in Utah. Is that part of what is happening here in Utah as we're seeing prices go up?
It can be, because you're right. If there's an insurance company that's national and offers coverage in Utah and Florida, some of that burden that's happening in Florida might spread over to customers in Utah. But it's also just the fact that when carriers leave the state, like you mentioned, the 3 that have left recently, that means the burden and the risk of insurance is weighed more heavily on the carriers that remain. So as more companies leave, we hope they don't, but if they do, that means the ones that stay are taking on more risk, and they're going to charge homeowners for that risk. And also carriers are looking at the increase in wildfire. Increase in drought also means an increase in flooding when it actually does rain. So they're looking at these increased extreme weather risks and are trying to figure out how to price them accurately for the future. So if you see an increase to your home policy, it's not necessarily because something happened in another state, but it's because carriers are looking at your state and trying to predict how these extreme events are going to impact their bottom line, basically.
And many mortgages require you to carry this kind of insurance. So when insurance companies leave, is there always an available option? You just may have to pay a premium for it, or is there a situation or a point where you may just be completely uninsurable? And then how does that affect your mortgage?
That's honestly just the worst case scenario, and I think what most people kind of in states bordering the Gulf worry about the most. I do not think Utah is there yet or anywhere close to there yet, but it is a concern because if carriers back out and your home is in an area that no carrier will write for because no insurance company has to offer you insurance, it's an option for them, then you need to turn to the state for a fair plan. And if your state has a fair plan, then you will have insurance, but if you then can afford that insurance. So the two major problems with insurance in general with extreme weather is availability and affordability. And really, the country needs both of those options available to homeowners.
Shannon Martin, thank you for joining us, a bank rate analyst. As we are seeing, obviously, as the hurricanes rocked Florida, and they have year after year, there may still be, we're still in hurricane season for probably another 6 weeks or so in Florida, how insurance companies are trying to deal with this and how expensive it can be. So, Shannon, thank you for joining us. When we return, young adults are shifting to trade work, moving away from traditional college degrees. We talk about the trend of the trades with the Utah Manufacturing Association next.
It's 10:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour. Students at Bingham High School had to shelter in place last night while police chased a couple of men, one of whom was a suspect in a domestic violence call. Band students were out on the football field and caught some of the chase on video. They were told to shelter in place until it was safe to come out. One of those students spoke with KSL TV.
At first, everyone was kind of laughing and then calling their parents, and then kind of got real, and Amber was like, guys, this is actually real, and then it actually got serious and everyone was quiet.
The order was lifted last night. All the kids were safe, but police say the two men got away. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. An airplane carrying two high-profile passengers arrived in Washington, D.C. this morning. Bao Li and Qing Bao are giant pandas. They'll be living at the National Zoo for the next 10 years. They're here courtesy of the Chinese government. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average up or down on the day, 74 points right now. The NASDAQ is also down 140 points right now. And our KSL weather, a couple of warm days before things turn cold like fall. That's next. KSL News Time, 10:31.
Here's a way to get breaking news updates anywhere you go.
At the store or in a work meeting, you can get breaking news on your phone.
You can quickly read it, swipe, or click for more. It's super discreet, super fast.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
Hey BYU football fans, this is Mitch Harper. The Cougars are back in action this week as they host Oklahoma State under the Friday Night Lights. And to get ready for the matchup against the Cowboys, visit your local Macy's grocery store for all of your game day needs. They've got great prices on all of your favorite game day items like burger patties, made fresh dips, and more. They've also got tailgate foods that are offered through Macy's Catering, offering a wide variety of platters with smoked meats, wings, and even desserts. Catering is available to order online or in store. Getting in the Halloween mood? Macy's also has you covered with a variety of pumpkins and pumpkin-flavored treats in the bakery. Never miss a deal when you sign up for the Macy's Rewards program so you can get the weekly ads sent straight to your inbox each week.
Hi, this is BYU captain and defensive end Tyler Batty. It's football season again. Make sure to shop your local Macy's grocery stores for all your favorite tailgate foods.
Get game day ready with Macy's. Happy shopping.
For over 22 years, speaking on business on KSL News Radio has been a beloved tradition, celebrating our heroic business leaders and Utah consumers who have helped build one of the strongest state economies in the nation. Now, under the stewardship of the Salt Lake Chamber and hosted by Chamber President and CEO Derek Miller, the program continues to shine a spotlight on those who make Utah's business environment dynamic and thriving. With his expertise and passion, Derek brings the stories of our business community to life. As part of the Salt Lake Chamber, Speaking on Business is proud to continue its legacy of highlighting inspiring stories, trends, and special guests. Support Utah businesses now and be part of Utah's thriving economy. More information can be found at slchamber.com. That's slchamber.com. caregivingagency.com.
This is the story of a very special woman. Just a few knew about her superpowers. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Like any good agent, we're here for the open house, for the closing, for handing over keys. But because we're realtors, we're here for so much more. Agents who are realtors volunteer at nearly 3 times the national average. We're working to broaden access to credit, increase affordable housing supply, and ensure fair housing for all. And realtors are bound by a code of ethics. We're here for it all. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors. That's who we are.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. And here's Michelle Rowe.
Crews are still working on a rollover crash. This is on the South Belt, making your way westbound, approaching State Street. It's at the on-ramp when you're coming from Fashion Boulevard. It's off to the right. Want to use some caution through the area. And another crash, southbound I-15, just south of Bangerter Highway, also off to the right. Fall is upon us, and Murdoch Hyundai is offering 1.99% for 5 years on the 2025 Tucson. Murdoch Hyundai in Logan, Linden, and Murray. MurdochHyundai.com. I'm Michelle Rowe in the KSL Traffic Center.
Warm today and tomorrow with highs near records for the date. Then we get to the big cool down on Thursday with highs dropping into the 60s and rain likely. Right now we're at 64 degrees with sunny skies. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave, and Dujanovic.
Every one of my kids, their first job was a manufacturing job. It was assembly. It was repetitive. It was a little boring, I'll be honest. It was a little boring, but it was good money, and they could work their own schedule, and they were able to save up a ton of money. That was a little part-time job that they were introduced to. But I can tell you, as a family, it was fantastic. They always had money to spend. They could invest it. They could spend it on pizza. We didn't care, right? I mean, it was their money they had earned. They squirreled away their savings, and then they were able to spend a portion of it however they wanted. So I had some very good experiences having dipped our toes a little bit in the manufacturing world. So when I saw this article in the Deseret News, I was so intrigued because it says why more young adults are shifting to trade work. And one of the things, the pieces of research that stood out to me is that a majority of Americans believe that taking on student loan debt is not a worthwhile investment. They're looking for an ROI, and they don't think they're getting it by going to college. 77% feel that the idea of attending college is outdated. So you've got more than 3/4 of Americans that are saying, oh, going to college, that was an old way of thinking. So when you have some of these problems that higher education is facing, where people have lost faith in the college experience, the degree, and what it has to offer, it makes a little bit more sense why young adults are moving away from traditional college and getting into the trades. So I thought I'd reach out to Todd Bingham. He's the president and CEO of Utah Manufacturing Association. And Todd, this especially has happened over the last several years, where more doubt is seeping in about the value of a college education, or stepping away for 4, 5, 6 years to go get your degree, and they're just turning straight into the trades where you can get into a full-time job very quickly. So let me ask you, have you seen this uptick in the last few years?
Yeah, Dave, we definitely have. And maybe I'll just clarify a couple things. When we talk about college for the last 40, 50 years, kind of the impression has been that's a 4-year degree, right? And we kind of say that's what college is.
Yeah.
College now is a lot different, right? There are just tons of different opportunities. Post-secondary education, meaning you come out of high school and you determine what your path wants to be. And so technical degrees are huge in our industry, in many industries, where you go get a 1-year certification from the industry, 1 year of post-secondary training, and then you continue that on the job in a manufacturing facility, so you're batting 1,000 with all your kids working in manufacturing. Here I run the association for the state, and I only hit, 1 out of 3, 333 batting average. But, my son wanted to play college golf and was able to do that, so we found a school for him in Nebraska that had a welding program, and he went and played D1 college golf and got a welding degree. Zero, debt, came back at a high initial earning wage with a technical degree that is transferable anywhere. And those are the things that I think today's generation are starting to look at is a 4-year degree my only option? Or how can I get into the workforce a little quicker at a very high wage with some technical skills?
Now, when you start looking at a 4-year degree and you compare it to some of the trades, do you have any numbers? Do we have an idea of like what a starting salary is, how much you can make, and what do you top out at? Because it's one thing sometimes when you're making a very good starting wage, but if you tap out or top out early on, then maybe it's not as enticing.
Right. And a couple points on that, Dave, is that, still in this state, roughly between 65 and 70% of the jobs in this state do not require a 4-year degree. They require post-secondary education, technical training, and then those are the jobs we're talking about, whether you're in composites and materials, advanced materials, whether you're working as a welder or a CNC operator, automation, all of those jobs. And they're starting, anywhere from 15 to $25 an hour. Now, that's a broad range, but that depends on which subsector of manufacturer you're looking at. But to your point, many types of industries out there, for instance, in hospitality or in food, are starting kind of around that same range, but they're topping out very quickly. In manufacturing, if you're in a CNC operator or you're operating a lathe machine or you're winding carbon fiber materials for an A321 Airbus machine or airplane, you're going to go significantly higher than that. And what we're really talking about are careers with technical skills, not just jobs, lifelong careers where, folks start in that arena and spend their whole life in manufacturing and work their way up the chain. And I have countless stories on that, but that's the difference is that, we're talking about degrees with marketplace relevance and careers, not just jobs.
One of my biggest concerns that I have with the trades, and whether it's manufacturing or if you're an electrician or a plumber, is sure, that might sound amazing when you're 18 or 20 years old and your body's healthy, but you work for 30 years. You're in your 50s. You start wearing down. Do you want to still be climbing through attics or underneath and doing, there's a physical toll that maybe we don't totally appreciate when we're first starting out. What is the plan B, and what happens when I'm 30 years in a career and my body starts breaking down?
Yeah, I mean that's a good question. I mean, in manufacturing, I can't speak to the other areas. I have had a brother who was in the hardwood flooring business for many years and ultimately decided his knees couldn't handle it anymore, and went into the sales side and started his own business. But in our industry, we practice a lot of continuous improvement and lean process improvement, meaning in manufacturing, we're talking about how to move a product through the line in the most efficient and effective way to be productive. And so the large variety of our manufacturing jobs today are not very labor intensive. Now, they can be repetitive in some ways, but automation is certainly addressing that and talking about upskilling individuals to be more trained, again, more technically trained, so that they can do a variety of different things. And I think that's an amazing thing from a automation and an AI standpoint, is that manufacturing, it's kind of changing the face. This is not your grandfather's manufacturing industry. It's not dark, dirty, dead end, and dangerous. It is highly technical and advanced, and just some amazing opportunities there.
Well, in the final minute that we have here, Todd, and we're speaking with Todd Bingham, who's the president and CEO of Utah Manufacturing Association, because many young adults are moving away from traditional college and getting into trade work. Is there a concern with AI, with automation, that these jobs, these manufacturing jobs specifically, will just disappear?
You know, we don't see that, Dave. What we see is upskilling, as I indicated. So companies are advancing, putting in, $4 million in an automation line, where now, rather than an individual doing repetitive work of pushing something, a bag food product into a box, that's now going to be automated. That individual now works in a different area within the operation and is trained how to run a machine. And so their skill set increases, their impact and productivity increases, and therefore their wage increases. And so we're really seeing just, again, from a welding standpoint, a company like a Little Giant Ladder that now, rather than welding one rung at a time, they're running a machine that is welding 6 rungs at a time, and they're upskilling. You still need that welder because they understand metallurgy, but they've now got a much higher technical skill level, and that allows them to grow in wage and productivity for the company.
Todd Bingham, thank you for joining us, the CEO of Utah Manufacturing Association. I appreciate it, Todd. Thanks a lot. When we come back, I want to hear from everybody. Quite honestly, I think anybody can make this phone call. If you're, 35 years old, I want you to talk to your 18-year-old self about going into a trade, or maybe you're going to talk yourself about going out of the trades. Maybe you're in the trades right now and you're like, if I could talk to my 18-year-old self, I would say, run away. Or do you say, hey, listen, this is an incredible career. So where you're at right now, you get to make a pitch to your 18-year-old self, either for the trades, to go into a job for the trades, or maybe you go to college instead. 801-575-TALK. Love to hear from you right now. 801-575-TALK.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Current events can have a lot of moving parts. Our job is to make it easy to keep up.
You're part of a bigger world, so spend 15 or 20 minutes here and be part of it.
Join us weekday mornings between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
We all want a stressless holiday season. With Soda Weight Loss, you will stress much less. With state-of-the-art weight loss, you won't have to stress about fitting into that holiday outfit. You won't stress about how you look in your family photo. You'll stress less about emotional eating. My Soda dietitian and coach took the stress out of losing weight for me, and they will for you too. I lost 37 pounds in 90 days and have kept it off stress-free for nearly 3 years. Stress less about potentially dangerous fat loss drugs. Stress less about pills and injections. Stress less about crazy, sometimes dangerous side effects. You want less stress for the holidays? Then start the stressless way to get rid of the pounds and inches currently causing your stress. Soda is the stress-free, natural way to healthy living. When it comes to your Soda weight loss journey, there's no time to lose, only time to win. So stress less and start winning by losing that unwanted weight. Have a stressless holiday season with the energy and vitality you deserve. Check it out at Soda Weight Loss, SOTAweightloss.com.
Over the years, you've brought them into your home. You were prescribed opioids after the C-section, when Dad injured his back, when your basketball star tore his ACL. Opioids helped with the pain, and you held on to them just in case. But did you know holding on to unused opioids puts your family at risk? Opioids are powerful pain-reducing prescription medicines, but most people who are prescribed opioids don't finish their prescriptions. So millions of unused opioids are sitting in homes across the country. And tragically, more than 100 Americans die every day from overdoses involving opioids. What can you do to protect your family? Remove the risk of unused opioids from your home. Pills, patches, or syrups in drawers, purses, and cabinets, anywhere they might be hiding. To find out how to dispose of them properly, Visit www.fda.gov/drug disposal.
Common Spirit Health. Hospitals, clinics, and caregivers all connected to advance healthcare in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Healthcare with human kindness is here. Hello, human kindness.
Hi, it's Tori DeVito. In every family, small conversations can make a big impact. I grew up on tour with my parents. Kind of different, but we bonded over music just like other families do over sports, camping, or other interests. And we talked. Little everyday conversations from silly to serious that built a foundation over time. Honest conversations, like when my dad shared his experiences as an alcoholic.
Your honesty about that part of your life gave me a sense of integrity that I wanted to uphold in my own life. And I was so grateful that you and Mom had become these sober, stable people who were always there for me.
I wanted you to know from someone who's been in recovery more than 30 years now that hard work is what creates success, not alcohol or other drugs, whether it's music or anything else. I said it a lot, and I'm glad you took it to heart.
Talk, they hear you. For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
Jeff Kaplan. I'm energized by breaking news. First of all, because it's right now, and second of all, because in many cases the audience needs to know. There's no more important service that we can provide, and I find it critically important to get more details to the audience as quickly as possible. There's nothing more energizing than that for me. Not at all. The most important thing we do is breaking news. I am gratified that so many people listen to me every afternoon on KSL, but what they don't know is that there are so many people behind the scenes making it happen, checking on the traffic, answering the phones, making the calls, talking to the newsmakers. They're out in the street, into the field to get the raw information, and then putting it all together so that I can sit in front of a microphone and be a source of information every afternoon. But there are so many people who make it happen. That's what you don't know.
Ride Home with Jeff Kaplan, weekdays 3 to 7 on KSL News Radio.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, students at Bingham High School had to shelter in place last night while police tried to locate two suspects in a domestic violence case. Second, two high-profile passengers arrived at Dulles Airport in Washington overnight. Bao Li and Jing Bao are giant pandas who will be living at the National Zoo. And third, the governor of North Carolina sending law enforcement officers out with FEMA workers after they were threatened. 64 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Yeah, it is Dave and Dujanovic, except there's no Dujanovic today. It's just me, rolling solo, and we're taking your phone calls right now. 801-575-TALK. If you could talk to your 18-year-old self, what would you say to yourself regarding the trades? Would you say, Dave, definitely become a plumber, like 100% become a plumber, or become an auto mechanic, get into manufacturing? Is that something I would say to my 18-year-old self? 100% I would. 100%. Even though I love my career, I love my decision, it's been fantastic, and I love my job right now, I think of the thousands, tens of thousands of dollars I've spent on auto repairs and plumbing and the trade work, right? Had I been 18 years old, and even if it wasn't my lifetime career, had I spent a couple years testing it out, trying it out, it would have been incredible. And maybe it does grow into something larger. But I want to hear from you. What would you say to your 18-year-old self about the trades? Because what we are finding right now is that more young adults are shifting to trade work. They're foregoing the 4-year college experience. Instead, they're going into trade work. And we have some phone calls right now. Rob from Midway, what would you tell your 18-year-old self?
Well, I told my 18-year-old self to join the Navy, but when I got out of the Navy, my dad was a plumber, and so was his dad, and so it was just natural to get into it. But for the last 45-plus years working as a plumber, and I teach in the apprenticeship program out at Salt Lake Community College for the last 35. It's absolutely the way to go for a lot of these young kids that don't want to sit behind a desk all day.
Okay, so you're the perfect person to talk to, Rob, because this is my biggest worry, and you can speak to this directly. When I'm 18 years old, I'm young, I'm healthy, I can lift anything, I never get injured. But after 30 years, now I'm in my 50s, lifting toilets is not as easy as it once was. What do you say, or how do you speak to that when your body starts breaking down and you're in some of this blue-collar work?
Well, that's a great observation, Dave. And I, I've had 50 and 60-year-old plumbers working for me. It's tough when you get that old. But the big advantage of this is that you can go through the apprenticeship program. You get paid while you're working. You get paid a good wage. You're going to starting out at $15 an hour, and as a journeyman, you're going to make up 30 plus. Once you get that license in your pocket, you can decide what you want to do. If you don't want to keep doing that the rest of your life, you can do something else, and you have that to fall back on. It's a great deal.
Well, I appreciate you making the phone call. It sounds like your 18-year-old self would have said, you know what? I like the choices I made. I'm going to keep moving forward. Thanks, Rob. Again, if you want to chime in on this conversation, 801-575-TALK. What would you say to your 18-year-old self? Would you tell yourself, don't go to college, become an electrician, or become a plumber, or become a welder? Would you tell yourself that? Or maybe that's exactly what you do, and you'd go back to your 18-year-old self and say, do not become a welder. Make sure you go get your PhD in something else because my body's worn out. Peter in Draper, what do you think? What would you tell your 18-year-old self?
Dave, I'm in the same boat in a lot of ways. I think it's great that, when I was 18, I wish I had somebody tell me I should get into auto mechanics, and I should have done it. Didn't do it, and I regret it. I really do. I think about it all the time. But it was funny that, my son, he's 23, and I'm going to use him as an example. He was not the best student, but he passed his ACTs with high scores, did great. But he just didn't want to go to school. And it was in that same position where he thought, Dad, I just don't want to take on debt. I don't want to have all this to worry about. So he became an auto mechanic, and he worked his way through small shops, and now he's working for Ford, and he's working on heavy trucks and doing transmissions. And yes, he's young and he can lift these things, and he's a big kid. He's about 6'2" and strong. But I'm proud of him. I think he made the right decision. I think it's he's making $42 an hour at 23 years old.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
23.
Yeah,
most kids are still in college at 23.
I know, Dave. It's my daughter's up at the U right now, and she's doing great, and she's got her path, she's got her career ahead of her, and she's excited. But I just think for some it may be the way to go. And with auto mechanics, there's a shortage of that, Dave. There's a shortage of plumbers. There's a shortage of electricians, and I think it's a very admirable way to pursue career and enjoy yourself. And like I say, you're going to get old. I'm old. I'm in my 50s, and I feel it. I feel it, and it's I can't
popping out of
imagine.
bed not as easy as it used to be. Was there any pressure, Peter? Did you feel any pressure, maybe even social pressure? Because I think I've felt this with my kids in the past. Hey, make sure you go to college. Go to a good college. Don't settle for trade work. And did you feel any of that social pressure?
I feel my wife graduated from the university, and she put pressure on him to graduate and pursue college. But eventually she saw that, this is what he loves to do. And she didn't want to take that away from him, and supported him, and she backed him like I did. And we just, as a husband and wife, we just are saying, hey, it's your life. Do what you want to do. And I think it's, like I said, I'm proud of him. He works hard. He works long hours, but he told me one day, he said, Dad, he goes, I really don't feel like I work. He loves doing it so much. It's just, It's great, and I'm happy.
Well, I would love to work too if I was 23 years old making $43 an hour. What does overtime look like? My goodness, that's fantastic. We got a text from Price. There really wasn't social pressure growing up. to go to college, but most people are coal miners, electricians, mechanics, and in rural Utah, that is way more the norm than to go to college. And I look at it and I think, boy, this is a trend. And I think maybe the pendulum had swung too far one way, where it was college or bust. And if you don't go to college, you've been a failure. And I think it's starting to come back and find a little bit more of a balance where college might absolutely be the best situation for you, and that's what you want to do. But the trades, as you just heard from Peter right there, his son's 23 years old, working as an auto mechanic, making $43 an hour, and you didn't spend 4 years going to school, maybe 5 or 6 years accruing debt. But thank you so much for your phone calls, folks.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour. Utah's ballots are going out in the mail today. They should be arriving in your mailbox the next few days. And there's a good number of names showing up on the list for president. How does the state decide whose name is listed first?
We actually met in the rotunda of the Capitol, and we used Scrabble tiles. We recorded it. It's on our website. You can watch it. We just had people pull out Scrabble tiles out of a bag and put it in kind of a random order.
State Elections Director Ryan Cowley tells the Dave and Dujanovic show that the names are put on the ballot each year in random order, so it doesn't give any person or party an advantage. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Pennsylvania turning out to be a key state in this presidential election. Both candidates were campaigning there yesterday. ABC's Jim Ryan is there.
At a town hall in suburban Philadelphia, former President Trump last night talked about the economy.
More people tell me about grocery bills, and we're going to do a lot of things.
In northwest Pennsylvania,
he has no plan for how he would address the needs of the American people.
Vice President Kamala Harris rallied her supporters. Jim Ryan, ABC News, Pittsburgh.
Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average down on the day, 132 points right now, and the NASDAQ down even more, 145 points right now. And our KSL weather looks like the last of a couple of sunny days. That's next. KSL News Time, 11:01.
News doesn't just mean information or dates.
It's the story of our local history being told in real time.
Be a part of the story. This is Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon.
We hope to be a part of your story. We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
This statement has not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
When it comes to my lifestyle and diet, I don't always make the smartest choices.
Touchdown! Woo! Hey, how about another round and some more chips?
But when it comes to taking care of my liver, I do make one very smart choice. Active liver tablets from New Nordic. I used to have real issues with my liver, and at my last checkup, my doc was concerned about my numbers. But since adding a once-a-day active liver tablet, my gut's better, I feel great, and my doctor's happy. I ask a lot of my liver, so the least I can do to say thanks is a daily dose of Active Liver.
You ask a lot of your liver, so give it the support it needs with Active Liver. You can find Active Liver at Amazon.com, or for a volume discount, visit NewNordicUSA.com. Go to NordicUSA.com, Amazon, or ask for Active Liver at your local CVS. New year, new you, New Nordic.
The movie show is at Minky Couture in Layton this Friday, October 18th from 10 to 1. Join KSL News Radio and Minky Couture and get special discounts and savings on your favorite Minky Couture products. And while you're at Minky Couture, check out all the ways to stay cozy and warm during these cold months, including the new Everywhere blanket. Join us this Friday at Minky Couture in Layton, 1782 Woodland Park Drive. MinkyCouture.com. Minky Couture, the best gift ever.
My body is unique. I'm not okay with using drugs for weight loss.
Dieting really hasn't worked for me.
These fad diets have hurt people that I care about.
I'm Dr. Jack Thomas with Skinny Utah. Since 2016, Skinny Utah has offered effective weight loss without the shots, prepackaged meals, hormones, or shakes. So many of us are troubled by the serious side effects of lose weight fast fads and are looking for answers as to why our bodies hold on to weight where other bodies don't. The answer is actually simple. Each body is different. At Skinny Utah, we use technology to learn why your specific body holds on to weight, which foods your body can use best, and which ones to stay away from so your weight loss can be sustainable. Right now, Skinny Utah is offering $700 off, something we have never done before. Take your health and weight loss journey seriously and safely. Schedule your free weight loss strategy session at skinnyutah.com.
I did it.
Safely.
Successfully.
At skinnyutah.com.
With Skinny Utah, you have nothing to lose but the weight.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. And here's Michelle Rowe.
We're still looking at this crash, Dan. This is on the south belt, headed westbound. They still have the on-ramp from Fashion Boulevard closed. It's due to a rollover crash off to the right. Also, there's another crash just prior to 146 South in Draper. It is also off to the right. Celebrate Taco Tuesday the tasty way at Cafe Rio. Handmade tortillas bring the vibes, slow braised meats bring the punch, and 12 tasty toppings bring the party. Starting at just $2.49. I'm Michelle Rowe in the KSL Traffic Center.
It'll be warm today and tomorrow with highs near records for the date. Then we get a big cool down on Thursday with highs dropping into the 60s and rain likely. And right now, 64 degrees and sunny. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com for Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories. On KSL News Radio, Dave and Dujanovic have inside sources.
No Debbie Dujanovic today. So if you're wondering, I wonder where Debbie is. She's not here. Nobody else is here. It's just me running solo, and then I just bring in my best friends. That's all I do. I just bring them in to have a conversation, which is exactly what I've done today. Boyd Matheson joins us, as he does every day at 11 o'clock. And Boyd, we were having this discussion earlier, and today is the day. Ballots are coming out 21 days before. And I don't know if anyone else does this. I like to look at the sample ballots, and I think part because it shocks me how large the ballots are sometimes. I looked at Salt Lake County. They've got a 2-page ballot, front and back.
Yeah.
179 candidates, 88 races. It is substantial. And on top of like bonds they're voting on and the constitutional amendments. But today is the day. And one little thing, I don't know if you of course knew this. This is brand new information for me. But I was looking at this sample ballot. In the presidential ballot, there were, several candidates. And the two top candidates, Harris and Trump, they weren't at the top. They were just randomly dispersed. Do you know how they determined how to structure and in what order to put those candidates?
It depends. It's different in each each district in there and all around the country. Some do it just by a random, spitting out of it. Some of it's alphabetical. Some of it's alphabetical by first name.
Yeah.
It can be all of those different things. And,
this one was Scrabble tiles.
Scrabble tiles.
They
Nice.
used they recorded it. They filled up a bag of Scrabble tiles and they pulled out all the letters, and that was the randomized selection. Like, I didn't know we did that, but yeah, apparently we do it here in Utah. But okay, this is something. Now, typically when we talk about voting, it's like, hey, November 5th, that's when we vote. That's election day. But it's not that way anymore. Every day for the next 3 weeks is election day.
That's right. It is election day. And so it's a good chance for us to really step back and start thinking through, okay, ballot's coming in the mail. What am I going to do with that ballot when I get it? And how should I approach it? And I think there's some really important questions that we need to get to. So, and I think the first place we should start is why we vote. We have turned elections into this all-or-nothing, zero-sum game. If my candidate doesn't win, it's awful and horrible and terrible. And so that's the way we've been approaching it. But a vote, why we vote, is to express something. It's to express our values. It's to express our opinion. It's to express our ideas about policy. It's to express what we think about character. It's all of those things. And everybody does it a little bit different. But it's not just about winning and losing. And some people think, well, I want to vote for this person because I think they're going to win. Everybody wants to be on the bandwagon. Yeah. Everyone wants to be able to go up to that person if they're in office and say, well, I voted for you. And then there's sort of this expectation of, oh, thank you so much. How can I help you?
Yeah.
That's not what it's about. It's an expression. A vote is an expression. So understanding why we're voting, it's not just to win and gain power. It's to express what matters to us. And that will cause us to look at things just a little bit different. Because when you start looking at candidates up and down the ballot, you can start asking yourself the more important questions. Because every vote that we cast is a series of decisions and trade-offs. Because the only person you could ever be completely aligned with as a candidate is yourself.
Right.
And if you're not on the ballot, that's okay. You can write yourself in. That's also a possibility. But if you go through, you're making judgments and you're saying, well, I think that this is more important than this. Or I think their stance on this issue is more important than that. Or I think this character trait is more important than that. And so it's all about making this assessment going down. And so as we do that, then we can start to understand each other a little bit better. Because I can sit here today, and let's just take the presidential as the example.
Yeah.
I can look at one of my friends who I know will cast a vote for Vice President Harris in the next 21 days. And I can go through that process, and I can understand how they got there.
Mm-hmm.
I can understand what the trade-offs were. I can understand what they valued more. I can understand an independent voting for Kamala Harris. I can understand a Republican voting for Kamala Harris and an unaffiliated voting for Kamala Harris. And I can look at my friends, many of which will cast votes for former President Trump in the next 21 days, and I can say, I know how you got there. I can understand that. And this is what you prioritized, and this policy was more important than that issue. And you can go through and say, I understand how this independent voted for former President Trump. This is how this unaffiliated. This is how this Democrat said, you know what, I'm crossing over and voting for former President Trump. And it also allows me to look at some of my friends who are either going to vote for a third-party candidate or may write somebody's name in on the ballot. And I totally get it. And I can say, I understand you. I know what you evaluated. I can see how you saw the issues. And I can see the message that you're trying to send in terms of what you value and what matters most to you. And guess what, folks? That's what this is supposed to be about.
You know what that reminds me of is how people view hiking. Because there are some people that literally will go on a hike. I don't like hiking at all. I have no interest in hiking whatsoever. But there are people that genuinely, whether it's 1 mile or 5 miles, they just enjoy being out in nature and they enjoy the walk itself. Other people like the destination.
Yeah.
They like the accomplishment. So even though it's the exact same activity, their perspective and how they're approaching it and the way they look at it is extremely different. And if you're thinking, well, the only thing that matters to me is the destination, is the accomplishment, is getting there, and we have a hard time understanding the folks that are like, oh, you just like a leisurely walk and you notice the leaves? Because I don't notice the leaves.
I'm looking at my shoes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
straight
the
at my
rocks.
shoes, I'm looking at it. And we have a hard time understanding where the other person is coming from. And I think it's very similar when you're voting, when you say, wow, you valued something more than I did. And I don't know why you value that so highly, because it's so low on my list. And trying to figure that out is in part the frustration I think we feel. It's like, well, why do you value that so much?
Yeah, and that's a great conversation to have.
Yes.
Hey, tell me more about that.
Yeah.
Explain that to
Why
me.
is this your passion?
Because one of the things we're going to hear over and over and over again over the next 21 days is you're going to hear people say, I can't understand how a rational, reasonable person X can vote for this person, or I don't understand how this demographic could ever vote for that, or I don't understand how anyone in good conscience could vote for fill in the blank. And that's just wrong. What we should be asking is, I wonder what their process was to value that person or this set of issues over these sets of issues, and have that conversation with your neighbor, have that conversation with your colleague at work, and find out, how did you get there? Because if we spend more time talking to each other about how we prioritize things and what really matters to us, we'll get to some really creative and pretty interesting conversations about good public policy, what it means to lead, what it means to govern, not just campaign. And that could do more to change the polarization in the country and the partisanship in the country than probably anything else. But it starts with us recognizing this is my job as a voter. This is why I do this. It's not so I can get power. It's not so that I can get influence with my member of Congress or a senator or a president or a governor or a city council official. I'm expressing myself in this vote. I'm expressing what matters to me. And then being radically curious enough to ask that of other people. Say, I wonder how they got there. And have them explain that to you. It'll change everything. And it changes and it diffuses a lot of the volatility we have in our arguments online. Because we can have a different thing, not just shouting pejoratives or, oh, you knucklehead, how can you possibly in good conscience ever vote for person X or Y? And they can look back and say, well, how can you as a person who does X, Y, and Z, vote for this person? Wrong conversation. Keeps us a very safe distance from having the conversations that will actually solve the problems in the country.
Because having those conversations, oddly enough, what I've experienced in the past is when you do have those conversations, you're way closer than you realize and that you want to admit.
Yeah. In fact, let me share one. This is one of my favorite examples from Representative Mia Love. She had a good friend in the Congressional Black Caucus, a Democrat, and they were walking back from the State of the Union, and they were bantering back and forth, and he said to her, Mia, you are so smart. I just can't figure out how in the world you're a Republican. And she looked at him and she said, well, you're really smart too, and I can't figure out how in the world you're a Democrat. And here's what it came down to. It was so fascinating. She was a Republican because her parents had seen in their experience in Haiti what happens when a big federal government comes in and crushes people's dreams and controls the economy and everything in their lives. So Mia, of course, was very much about federalism. And getting it to the state and local level. This other member of Congress, a Democrat, he grew up in the Deep South, where the federal government had actually protected him and his family from corrupt local government. And it was a wow moment where they both suddenly realized, I see why you think things need to be done at the federal level, and I can see why you think things should be done at the state level. And it changed everything. And they had a great relationship and did some really cool stuff together, both as members of the Congressional Black Caucus and on pieces of legislation. But you got to be willing to have that conversation and step back and recognize, why am I voting? And more importantly, what am I expressing? And if there's not a candidate on that ballot that expresses what you think is most important, write somebody in and do it different.
What an incredible example. What a great story. Where they were both right.
Yeah.
They were absolutely both right
Yeah.
from their different perspectives. And when you know that, when you recognize that, you realize, oh, okay, you're not coming from an evil, terrible, awful place.
Exactly.
You're coming from a great place.
Yeah.
And I can see where you're coming from. Boyd, thank you so much. It's day one officially. You're going to be receiving your ballots in the mail either today or over the next couple of days. So look out for that and think of why we vote. And my goodness, Boyd, write-ins, that is just a revolutionary concept of just vote. It's why we vote. It's not who we vote for. Thank you so much. When we come back, let's talk about Utah's food tax. Been a huge discussion of whether it should stay or go for years and years. Deseret News opinion editor Jay Evenson joins the show next about the food tax.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Here's a trick to podcasting at work and getting all the Utah news you love.
Download the KSL News Radio app.
The podcast for Utah's morning news and Dave and Debbie are right there. Dozens of podcasts a day.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
Do you know how many devices the average home has connected to their Wi-Fi network? It's way more than I thought. I actually went home and counted how many connected devices I own. More than a dozen, all to keep me connected to the good stuff. My streaming, my gaming, all my interneting, you name it. Xfinity knows the number of devices we have connected to the internet is growing by the year. That's why they engineered their gateways to handle hundreds of connected devices. Hundreds! For real. Now through October 21st, get Xfinity Gig Internet with unlimited data for $25 a month for 2 years when you add unlimited mobile. Plus, get Peacock Premium $7.99 $9.99 monthly value, included at no extra cost. Make sure your home Wi-Fi can handle everything you throw at it and then some. Visit Xfinity.com, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit a store to switch today. Xfinity, bring on the good stuff. Restrictions apply, requires paperless billing and auto pay with stored bank account, taxes and fees extra. Gig Wi-Fi requires Xfinity Gateway. Xfinity Mobile requires Xfinity Internet. After promo, regular internet rates apply. Currently $96 a month. Actual speeds vary.
Ballots hit voter mailboxes this week, and the stakes are high. Stay informed on Utah races for governor, U.S. Senator, and Attorney General. And, of course, the presidential election.
We have you covered.
With updates mornings and afternoons and conversation middays. Your voice, your vote 2024.
On KSL News Radio.
I'm Utah Tax Attorney Jordan Wilcox. Listen to what actual clients have had to say about working with us.
Hi, I'm Gary. I'm a building contractor. About a year prior to the market crashing, we had a big job that was unable to pay a bill of about 6 figures. We were still left with a very difficult situation with the IRS. Eventually, at the end of the day, I realized that the penalties and interest were growing faster than my ability to save to deal with it. I had talked to people and I felt that Jordan Wilcox represented best what I thought could help me, primarily because they were local, and I needed a bigger solution than I was coming up with. It takes too long to figure it out on your own.
Hi, I'm Jordan Wilcox. You need a tax attorney that's not afraid to fight for you. Visit taxhelput.com to schedule your free consultation.
I would recommend Jordan Wilcox. It feels very good to not have the IRS on your back.
That's taxhelput.com.
Hey, it's Michael Smirkanish. Business owners and CMOs, how do you plan on growing your business? Have you plateaued on your social media and online efforts? Why not tap into podcasts and radio? In the U.S., audio reaches more than 271 million people weekly. That's more than social media and digital combined. My friends at Radioactive Media know the recipe to launch, optimize, and scale performance by building compelling audio campaigns which work. I personally know the principles of Radioactive Media, their personal approach and knowledge of the medium, unparalleled. For advertisers who want to reach the right audience with the right hosts and programs, text the word profits to 511-511. Heck, you can even buy spots on my program. If you're a mid-sized company or well-funded startup with a monthly budget as low as 5 figures, they can help. Text the word profits to 511-511. Online, radioactivemedia.com. Text rates may apply.
Getting help with plumbing repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, ballots are going out in the mail this week in Utah. The list of candidates for president could surprise some voters. Second, both Vice President Harris and former President Trump spending a lot of time campaigning in Pennsylvania. And third, this is the week that most Utah gardeners will have to say goodbye to their tomatoes. Right now, 64 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Let's talk about taxes on food specifically. Jay Evenson of the Deseret News joins me right now, and he talks about, in one of his articles, one of his opinion pieces, he talks about Utah's food tax on grocery still lives on. And Jay, I think you and I probably land on different sides in this argument, which is going to be very interesting, because I think it's a conversation that's important to have, because the state sales tax on food was on the ballot. Now it's off the ballot. Is everyone's starting to receive their ballots today, 21 days before the election. But walk us through your thought process behind the state food tax.
First of all, I think we need to understand basically what it is. And Utah has a 3% sales tax that's added on to your groceries when you're in the grocery store. Of that, 1.75% is the state's portion. Another 1% goes to your local government, and then 0.25% goes to the county. So when we're talking about taking the sales tax off food, we're only talking about the state portion, so it's 1.75%. So you would be left with a 1.25% sales tax. This has been discussed and argued and wrangled over for decades in Utah. We lowered it many years ago down to where it is now, the 1.75%. And advocates for the poor have been trying hard to get that completely removed. Utah is one of only 13 states nationwide that has a sales tax on food. What happened, interestingly, 5 years ago, the legislature came out with a tax reform package, and their whole idea was they were going to broaden the base so more things would be subject to the sales tax, including services like haircuts, that kind of thing, or lawn mowing services. And then they were going to lower the overall rate, but as part of that, they were going to raise the sales tax on food up to the level of other sales tax items. People went crazy. I mean, there was so much of a revolt against that the first thing they did in the 2020 legislative session was to repeal their tax reform package. And I think that was kind of a turning point. I think a lot of people were elected to the legislature after that point who were dedicated to getting rid of the sales tax on food. So now we come to 2024, and we had Amendment A on the ballot, and Amendment A had nothing to do with sales tax on food, but it was added on there. It had to do with school funding and removing education funding from the income tax. And if you talk to lawmakers, the reason they put that on there was that there were members of the House who wouldn't support the school funding measure unless the sales tax on food was included in that measure. And it also could be seen maybe as sweetening the pot for a voter who might want to take that sales tax off food, might be wavering as far as education funding. But now, of course, the courts have voided Amendment A. It's on your ballot, but it's not going to be counted.
Right.
And so
the food tax stays.
The food tax stays because it's also voided as part of that amendment.
So I look at that 1.75%, and that's the carrot that was being dangled to entice people to vote for, right? We're going to remove that 1.75. But I think it's important to talk to folks and really break down the numbers, because if you're spending $1,000 on groceries, then that 1.75% is $17 a month. Yeah. That breaks down to $4 a week. Is that really making a difference? If you're spending $1,000 a month on your groceries, is that $4 a week? Is that making a difference? And I don't think it makes a difference. And I see it being used politically and enticing. Say we're going to remove the food, the tax on food, and this is going to help people. It's going to help the poor. And I want to say no, it's not. That's not a meaningful improvement if we're trying to address the cost of groceries and how much people are feeling the pinch as groceries have gone up 25% in the last couple of years. That $4 every week, that isn't the difference between healthy eating and not eating. So I wonder how much this is being used politically in something that is costing or going to save somebody a few dollars a week.
Well, you could look at it the other way as well and say, is that going to really make a difference on the state budget if we just do away with it? I mean, this has been kind of a thorn in the side of Republican lawmakers for many years now, because advocates for the poor, they have the ear of the public. And the public, I believe, really wants to do away with this tax. And it would cost about $200 million in state revenue to get rid of. And that's really not much when you're talking about, I think, a $25 billion budget. So there are two ways to look at this. And you also have to, to your point, we're not really talking about the very poor, because they will have food stamps, they will have the WIC program, they will have other programs for getting food. We're talking about the people on the margins, the people that are having a tough time making ends meet, but they're not on welfare. And they are being hit hard by inflation right now. And so any little bit would help. Yes, 1.75% is not going to be much, but it would remove this talking point from state government, and it wouldn't cost a lot of money, and it would help some people who are on the fringes.
I look at it and I think when we're talking about taxes, it is such a complicated, impossible to follow system that we have right now. Because, again, if you want to talk about sales tax, we talk about the three-legged stool of taxes, income tax, sales tax, and property tax. You can't describe hardly any of them, right? I mean, because there are so many carve-outs of what counts as income, what doesn't, which property taxes, and they're so wildly varying in your property taxes, depending if you live in Magna and Kearns or if you live in Park City. There is so much confusion. And even when you're looking at the state sales tax on food, well, what is state sales tax? Well, it can, usually be 7-8%.
Right.
And this food tax is only 3%. And then you can even subdivide it even further, as you had done so well, to the state's portion of the food tax, to the county's version, and then the local version. It's almost impossible to follow. So I think oftentimes we talk about these things on the margins where it makes very little difference, but to your very point, it consumes oxygen in the room.
Right, it does. And you're right, taxes are complicated. Income tax is extremely complicated, what you can deduct and what you can't. Sales tax, there are companies that get sales tax breaks for locating here and who are competing with existing companies here who aren't getting those breaks. There's all kinds of inequities and there's all kinds of complications to it. And if you were to sit down with a blank slate and just draft your own tax system, it wouldn't look anything like what we have today. I agree.
No, it absolutely would not. But Jay, I love reading you. I love reading your stuff. You always bring such a great perspective. And if you want to learn or read this very article, make sure you go to Deseret.com. That's where you can find Utah's tax on groceries. It still lives, but the conversation, it does as well. that thing won't die. And even if it does, I'm sure it will return before you know it, because we love talking about taxes on food. So, Jay, thank you so much for joining us. When we come back, more and more teenagers are saying that they feel burned out. They're expressing it. They feel burned out. How much am I to blame as the parent? Have I overscheduled my kids? Are my expectations too high? We asked a psychologist to join the show with his analysis on the growing pressures teens are facing.
It's 11:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top local story this hour. A man from Sandy's been sentenced to up to 20 years in prison after he was found guilty of causing the death of a motorcyclist while driving under the influence. Police say Joseph Ornelas hit 22-year-old Riker Page Reynolds at a stoplight, claiming he didn't see the motorcycle's brake light. Police say he then left the scene and called 911 from a nearby fast food restaurant. The arrival of colder weather this week signals the end of summer and an end to our gardens. Temperatures in some places along the Wasatch Front predicted to drop as low as 28 degrees.
Tomatoes, peppers, squash, pumpkins are all going to be killed if it gets that cold.
The host of the KSL Greenhouse Show, Ton Bettis, says yellow or orange tomatoes can be left on the counter in the kitchen to ripen up, so don't hesitate to pick the ones that don't look quite ripe just yet. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. More than 5 million Americans have voted already in states where early voting has begun. That pace actually down from 4 years ago when COVID drove record early voting. While we don't know exactly who voted for whom yet, we do know that it's more likely Democrats are voting early than Republicans. Republicans, though, have actually picked up their early voting pace from 4 years ago. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average down on the day 170 points right now, and the NASDAQ is down 174. Our KSL weather, say goodbye to the 80s this week. That's next. KSL News Time, 11:32.
You know what's great about KSL's traffic coverage? Trained traffic reporters and real listeners.
Trading information and making the commute safer and faster for everyone.
Every 10 minutes on the nines, we have you covered on KSL News Radio.
I've been telling you guys for a while about Master Electrical Service and how they can just tackle all of your electrical needs, whether it's an EV charger that needs to be installed in your garage, recessed lighting, finish a basement, new builds. They can handle all of that. Well, they've joined forces with Mountain Home Services, who take care of, as they have with me, my furnace years ago. They deal with HVAC, so your heating, your air, your plumbing. So you have this one-stop shopping with Mountain Home Services. Heating, air, electrical needs, you name it, and then your plumbing. All comes with that upfront pricing guarantee. It doesn't have any hidden fees. 100% satisfaction guarantee. Well, now they want to tell you about the fireplaces that they can help install into your home. Whether it's brand new, they can run service on it. My mom actually called them. I didn't even realize this. She called up after hearing one of these commercials here. She said, Dave, I called Mountain Home Services. They came out to tune up my fireplace, which hadn't been done for 20 years. She said, it's brand new. The flame is huge. I am so happy. I thought I was going to have to buy a new one, but no, they just tuned it up and it looks fantastic. So if you're interested in fireplaces, your electrical needs, your HVAC, give Mountain Home Services a call at 801-543-2222. Super easy number to remember, 801-543-2222, or online at mountainhomeutah.com.
Coping-19, brought to you by CDC and the Ad Council.
Managing today's uncertainty can be overwhelming. We crave security, and it's uncomfortable when we sense a lack of control over our lives. Develop a routine for a more balanced lifestyle with healthy habits and fun. Focus on what you can control, even if it's little things, like a before-bedtime ritual.
Find more self-care and coping tips at coping-19.org.
Tim and Amanda.
One of the big differences, I think, between reading a story online and hearing it from us, Tim, is that, you and I are allowed to share a reaction. We need to be able to say, what in the world were they thinking? So that people listening will know. We feel it too. When we read a story that sounds ridiculous, we're right with you. It sounds ridiculous.
Well, we get caught up, I'm sure just like our listeners do sometimes, in death scrolling on social media. And fact-checking it on your own is tough. The great thing about tuning in every morning and starting your morning with us on KSL is you can count on the fact that when that information comes out of the radio in your direction, it comes from reliable sources.
It's already been fact-checked.
Right. And that's not always easy when you're getting it online. Finding who wrote it, when was it written, has it been updated with the current facts of the day that change sometimes minute to minute, not just day to day.
Utah's Morning News between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. And here's Ricky Meese.
Crews remain on the scene of this rollover accident in the Midvale-Murray area. It's at the bottom of the on-ramp from State Street to go westbound on I-215 southbound. They are in the process of opening up that ramp. However, the crews will still be blocking a lane of travel. Get to know winter fun at the Utah Snowmobile Show at Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Tickets at snowwest.com/Utah. The Utah Snowmobile Show, October 18th and 19th at Mountain America Expo Center. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Warm today and tomorrow with highs near records for the day. Then we get to a big cool down on Thursday with highs dropping into the 60s and rain likely. And right now, 72 degrees and sunny. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
This is the headline I saw in a KSL article. It said, teens are feeling pressured and burned out. And this speaks to me because my entire life has been full of teenagers for the last several years. I've got a teen right now, or I got several teens. And if they're feeling burned out, number one, am I aware of it? And what can I do about it? Because that is obviously something that we want to address. Burnout is not, hey, I'm feeling pressure. It's not, I'm feeling a little overwhelmed. Burned out is, I got nothing left. So when I read burn out, and if that's what kids are using to describe themselves, I'm listening. My ears are perked, and I'm paying attention. Tom Golightly joins us, a psychologist down at BYU. And Tom, when I hear kids admitting about a quarter of them, where they say in this Harvard study, they're like, yeah, I'm out. I'm burned out. As a parent, what should I be listening to?
Well, I think, you're right. It's not just feeling pressure. It's not just feeling overwhelmed. It's saying it's the tank is empty. I'm trying to draw more energy from a well that is dry. And that's a really important distinction from, wow, they just have a lot going on. It's kind of our mind's way of saying you have to slow down or something is going to happen, something worse. And I think one of the first important components is seeing your child fighting slowing down. When you're suggesting, like, wow, we see you working really hard, like, I can't take a break. I just can't do this right now. And you might see them be a little more irritable, have a lot more anxious thoughts going on, especially about the future. I'm trying to set myself up for a good college or a good job or a good internship experience. Their mood might be a little bit lower. They might be a little more sad. They might be pulling away socially a little bit from their friends. They're eating and stomach issues kind of arise, whether that's more hunger or less hunger, feeling a little sick to their stomach, feeling full faster. Bathroom habits might change. And, of course, they start to change their routine a little bit where you don't see them doing the things that they would normally do. And when you start seeing all of these things come together, a lot of people worry, wow, my kid might be depressed or anxious, and they might be, but it could also be that they're just overloaded and they're trying to drive a car that doesn't have any gas in it.
As we were reading through this and as I was picking stuff out, I started realizing some of the things that I do that may contribute to how my kids are feeling the pressure, because it's a million different things going on in their life. It's the pressure of relationships. Who are you dating? Are you getting along with your friends? Now let's move over to school. How's your schooling going? What about spiritually? How are you doing? Are you going to church? There's so many different levels where I start ticking it off and almost like video game achievements. Right? I mean, yep, got that one, got that one, got that one. And I think, oh, now imagine trying to live through that and live up to those expectations and where you're inevitably, invariably coming up short.
And I think you're so right. I don't think the intention of the parent is always to create that laundry list of things that they have to check off and do. But I think in how we talk about it, passively, that's the message we're delivering. So it's really important that we are communicating and giving some counter messaging, because I don't think that parents are the only source that they're getting that type of pressure. They see it in their friends trying to create a perfect resume or get perfect grades or get into that dream school. And so it's really important to be intentional about saying, no, we just want you to be happy and fulfilled and that you're doing meaningful things. And it doesn't have to be this certain school or this certain major or this certain experience, that we're going to love you and appreciate you any way that you have worth. And while it's not a magic, pill that will turn everything around, it can be really helpful to keep reiterating those messages that we don't have a set fixed thing for you to do. And we have to be careful with how we're communicating passively, like you were just mentioning, to not say, well, look at all of these 10 things that you must do today. And that's really important to help them put that into perspective.
We're speaking with Tom Golightly, a psychologist and a friend of the show, because this article, Teens Are Feeling Pressured and Burned Out, where 81% of teens feel pressure. This was coming from a Harvard Graduate School survey where they talked to 1,500 kids, and 33 or 27% said they feel burned out. And Tom, as a parent, again, I just want to fix everything in my kid's life. I want to wave that magic wand. I want to go in there. And one of the things that I have to check myself, because obviously in my job, I ask questions I am expert question asker. And if I feel like I'm getting a little bit of a dodge, my radar goes off. I can tell when someone's not telling me something. And then all of a sudden I turn into CIA interrogator on a black site, and I just start grilling my kids with questions. And I'm like, this is terrible. This is not helping things at all. What are some ways where we can communicate with our kids, show interest, find out how they're doing without going CIA black site, Dave?
Well, I think one of the hard parts of this is we've all been through it as parents, and we want to use that experience, and we have power in our knowledge, and I learned, don't make the same mistakes I made. But when we kind of start from that spot, it can get into the spot that you're talking about very quickly, right? And so I think the big thing is to just be curious about their world, and that it's a dialogue. It's not a once a week formal interview type of thing, but it's an ongoing thing where you're curious about their day to day. You know the stressors that are coming up. You know the big things that they might be worried about. But also to help them build some skill around being intentional with downtime and supporting them in things that might not feel like they're building the resume. But I know a couple of weekends ago I saw my daughter, she went to Walmart and bought some pumpkins and started painting the pumpkins. And I'm like, yes, more of this, do more of this.
Yes.
And it's just like reinforce those things when you see that, and just really be interested and involved in those things. But the other thing that we can do to communicate, and this is really, really hard, our children, even our teenage children, are going to do what we do more than they're going to do what we say to do. So if we're not modeling our own downtime, and that's been really hard for American workers lately, we have to show them that it's okay to take a break, that I am going to recharge my batteries as well. So if they see you burning it at both ends, they're more likely to burn it at both ends too. So it's not just being curious and knowing what's going on with them, but with your behavior, modeling that you can take breaks and that you are interested in your own wellness and self-care, and setting some boundaries around how you're engaging life and work.
You just helped me justify my pickleball time. Dad needs to take a little pickleball time, and you can take some pickleball time. Everybody gets pickleball time.
Absolutely.
I love it. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Tom Golightly, psychologist and a friend of the show. Thank you so much. As 81% of teens say they feel pressure about their appearance, social lives, achievements. I think that's probably 100%, but 81% of kids are saying, listen, this is a serious deal. I feel this pressure. And more than a quarter of them say, I feel burned out. I don't have anything left to give. And those are some great tips of how we can help kids not reach that burnout stage. Now, if you live near a train like I did growing up, you may have heard a few more train noises, and not just the rumbling as it passes, but more frequent train horns. We break down why this is happening, why you may be hearing more trains, and what cities need to do to make it stop. Next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
A lot of us are filling our workdays with podcasts.
When you're working, go to KSLNewsRadio.com.
Click on Dave and Debbie's podcast and pick a topic and story length.
Podcast with Dave and Debbie. Then get to work with KSL News Radio.
I started my soda weight loss journey over a year ago, and it is so nice to be heading into the fall and winter holidays looking and feeling so much better than I did at this time in 2023. Best of all, I let go of that 70 pounds of fat and didn't have to use any medications, get any injections, or deal with any crazy side effects. My fellow soda client Vicky got amazing results too.
I have shed over 72 pounds and lost 47.5 inches of body fat. And I am off of every medication for the first time in my life. Oh my gosh, I'm so ecstatic about that.
Well, that excitement's contagious, isn't it? If you start now, you could be down 30 to even 50 pounds by the end of the holidays. It's as simple as going to sodaweightloss.com. That's SOTA weightloss.com and clicking on Request a Nutritionist Callback. Soda is the #1 rated weight loss company in America for client results and client satisfaction. And you know why? Because soda is, say it with me, say all the art.
At Macy's, we're proud to be local and support local. Carrying local products and produce is important to us. We are proud to support our local growers and bring peak freshness to you and your family. To make shopping local easier for you, we have added Utah Proud tags beneath local products. As you shop our stores, look out for the tags as you shop and show your pride for local Utah companies and growers. Thank you for shopping local yourself by shopping at Macy's. Macy's, happy shopping!
Every year, we seem to have a few people trying to get our free furnace promotion after the sale has ended. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and I know you want to save as much money as you can, but that's not how sales work. When they're over, they're over. Lucky for you, we still have a few more spots on our schedule we need to fill, so I'm extending the sale, but I'm not quite sure for how much longer. Definitely no later than the end of October, and once I think our schedule's full enough, I gotta pull these ads, so don't wait too long to call and schedule your free estimate. Just to recap, when you have Any Hour Services install a new air conditioner, we'll give you a new furnace for just the cost to install it. About $400. The furnace is free, you just pay the labor. So if your furnace and air conditioner are ready to be replaced, don't be one of those people that wishes they had called and taken advantage of our free furnace sale. The estimate's free, and we'll make sure you have all of the information you need to decide if our free furnace sale is right for you. If you think you might be interested, call Any Hour Services at 801-443-7400. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Celebrate Taco Tuesday the tasty way at Cafe Rio. Handmade tortillas bring the vibes. Slow braised meats bring the punch. And 12 tasty toppings bring the party. Starting at just $2.49.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business. Today, we're thrilled to feature Snow Pine Lodge, a historic gem in Alta, Utah. Originally built in the 1800s, it's been transformed into a luxurious retreat while maintaining its rich heritage. Whether you're a local or a visitor, Snow Pine offers an unforgettable mountain experience. General Manager Bill Babis joins us with more.
Nestled at the top of Little Cottonwoods Canyon, Snow Pine Lodge is a welcoming retreat. Whether you're in need of a relaxing staycation or a family visiting from out of town, eager to experience the stunning mountain scenery. We were honored to receive the 2024 Best of Beehive Staycation Award, which reflects our commitment to making every guest feel at home. This fall, we'd love for you to come up and rent our e-bikes to explore the vibrant colors of Alta's trails. While you're here, check out our Gulch Pub, enjoy regular live music, savor fine dining at Swen's, and experience rejuvenating services at Stillwell Spa. With year-round activities and cozy accommodations, Snow Pine Lodge is a perfect place to unwind and enjoy the best of Utah's natural beauty. We're proud to be part of this community and invite you to create lasting memories with us.
Don't miss out. Visit snowpinelodge.com, follow them on social media, or call today to book your staycation at Snow Pine with a special Utah Locals rate. Experience the best of Alta right in your backyard. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomis. First, a man is going to prison for 20 years for hitting and killing a motorcycle rider while driving under the influence. Second, more than 5 million Americans have voted early in this election. And third, you won't even have to touch the signal buttons to cross the street at some intersections in Salt Lake City. Just a wave will do the trick. 72 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Okay, if you're near a rail line, I'm going to play a train horn. Don't freak out. This is not a real train horn, but I'm just trying to paint the picture here. Now, I grew up not too far away from a train line, right? The main, rail that kind of runs through north and south Utah. So tracks, commuter rail, Union Pacific, all of that. That was just part of my life. Growing up, you'd always hear it. You could actually feel it. I knew every day on my daily nap, I could feel the train go by like clockwork, and it would shake our house. We weren't that close, but you could just feel it, just a subtle little thing. But the train horn was not something that we heard a lot of, because where I grew up in Kaysville, it was pretty quiet. East and West Kaysville are divided by the rail line, so you're constantly, there are a million different crossings where you're crossing the railroad tracks, and they're not sounding the horn all the time to warn you, make sure. And there's not arms that cross off. You largely just have to look left and right and just be aware. So there's going to be some changes. There has been some changes. train horns are blaring more frequently across the Wasatch Front. The reason that is because what were deemed quiet zones no longer meet Federal Railroad Administration standards. So there's a list of standards where maybe your neighborhood received quiet zone status, where when a train is coming through, they don't have to blare the horn because there are other safety precautions that are in place. So I wanted to reach out and find out from the mayor of Kaysville, Tammy Tran, my former mayor. And I've moved to Syracuse since then, but my former mayor joins us right now. And obviously, it's near and dear to my heart, but this is a problem that's happening up and down the Wasatch Front. Are you noticing anything more? Are we getting more train horns or sounding more train horns as it's traveling through Kaysville? Have you noticed that at all?
Dave, we have noticed, and our residents have noticed. We received some feedback. People don't love hearing the train horns. And so along the Wasatch Front between Salt Lake and Ogden, every time there's a crossing, they are blaring their horns.
And there are a million crossings. I mean, just in Kaysville, there are a million crossings.
I think that there are over 80 crossings in the quiet zone area. So, yeah,
my goodness.
It's a little bit loud.
Okay, so what is the solution? What has been what are some of the problems, and why was this quiet zone status revoked?
My understanding is that it was revoked because on September 30th, 2024, the Federal Railroad Administration, the FRA, temporarily suspended it because of 4 of the crossings that are non-compliant with proper safety measures. As you mentioned, the measures have maybe changed over time. And so apparently there are 4 crossings that need to fix their safety measures. And because of that, because we're part of the Woods Cross Quiet Zone, it affects all of the crossings.
So what kind of precautions and changes are they looking for? And is this something that falls just on the cities to make the improvements?
That's a really good question. And I'm not sure who has the responsibility for paying. I think it's the cities. I'm just told that there are some median height requirements that are not in compliance anymore. And so the cities that are affected are working on those types of improvements. And they're working hard, as far as I know, to get them fixed.
How quickly or how long should folks be kind of preparing for this? Because I've seen some folks, I've seen the comments, they're like, they woke me up out of a dead sleep. I can't sleep. This is just so noisy. I'm not used to it. How long do you think it will take to, and how difficult is the process to I guess, return that quiet zone status?
That's a really great question. The information that I have just tells us that it could take up to 18 months for 2 of the crossings to go through the design and approval process to update their safety measures. And I'm not sure how long it will actually take beyond that. I have heard that Woods Cross is scheduling meetings with the FRA to discuss potential solutions and hopefully work on something that will give us sort of a temporary relief from the train.
Was it a little bit of a surprise, or was there some indication or warnings that this was coming? Because sometimes I think, they're like, hey, this is coming, be aware, make some changes. Or is this something that just dropped almost unexpectedly?
As far as I'm aware, it was unexpected, but Kaysville's crossing at Old Mill Lane is compliant. And so maybe that's why we specifically didn't hear that this was going to happen, because we weren't one of the cities that was non-compliant. So I'm really not sure how much of a heads up other cities were given. I just know that Woods Cross has posted some updates because somehow they were designated as the city responsible for this reporting. Okay,
so Woods Cross kind of got voluntold. Is that what it is? Like this is now you're heading this up.
Yeah, that's kind of what I've heard, but I haven't talked to Woods Cross. But that's just the statement that they posted, so something like that.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Kaysville Mayor, my former mayor, Tammy Tran. Thanks for joining us, and best of luck. Hopefully, for your sake, in the complaint section, this does not take 18 to 24 months to resolve, and that it can get taken care of sooner rather than later.
I hope so too. Thanks, Dave.
All right, all the best. Thanks. And part of the reason this really came forward is we've had some incidents, crashes, some deaths, some fatalities from trains. And so, at its core, I absolutely understand, what we're trying to do. We're trying to make train travel as safe as possible, and obviously any kind of loss of life it should be addressed. But we've built communities, we've built entire neighborhoods around railways, and with an expectation, I think it's a very fair expectation that it's going to be as quiet as possible, right? I mean, there's a difference between just a train running through and you feel kind of the rumble, and then hearing this. And as you heard, there are dozens of crossings, and this does, run at all hours of the day and night, and these quiet zones are absolutely imperative. So I feel your pain, folks. We will keep track of how long it takes. We'll reach out to Woods Cross as well. It sounds like they got voluntold. They're in charge of a lot of this coordination with the Federal Railroad Administration. So, hey, thanks for joining me for the last 3 hours. Debbie's off, and I was rolling solo, so I appreciate you taking the time, and thanks for calling in, participating in the show. We'll turn things over to Maria Chaleos and the KSL News team for the afternoon news.